WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX, Indianapolis.
Wins would be great. That's the first goal. But complete performances. I think our defense again. They're making strides. I mean, they're pushing and hitting goals on sacks and the things that they're doing. They're increasing in turnovers the last 2 weeks. So really excited about what they've done on that side. And so from that perspective, playing a complete game, offense, defense, and special teams, everybody pulling their own weight, and being able to take steps forward that way to build on it.
Yeah, it definitely looks different. They're playing at a high level. They're doing a nice job. I think just playing in that environment, I've played in it before. It's not an easy environment to play in. That fan base the NFC East fan bases are extremely crazy fan base. I played in it for a lot of my career and have a lot of respect for the fan base out there. So I know it'll be a tough task going in there. I think the big thing is just the communication. We have to communicate really well because of the noise and because of the atmosphere it will add to the game.
I got the Colts going 12-5.
Wow.
This season is going to go. They need to snap 2 streaks and get the ball rolling. You need to win a season opener for the first time since 2013. 8 straight season openers. I mean, it's at Houston. Come on. It's Houston.
Yep.
Then you snap another streak of your inability to win at Jacksonville. That's on the road. It all goes back to how well is Matt Ryan going to, adjust? How much tread is on that tire? And can you get back Shaquille, don't call me Darius Leonard, back to what we're used to seeing from him? And I do like it. I like him going 12-5.
Who was that idiot? It was me. It was me, Chris Hagan. And that was Jimmy Cook putting me on the hot seat. We're both here today, so is Eddie Garrison. And yeah, from 12 to 3, you got us. And now, if you listen very carefully, and full disclosure, now there's cameras on us, guys. How can they see us? Will they log on to something?
Yeah, go to youtube.com and search The Fan Midday Show or search 107.5 The Fan. You'll find our smiling mugs on there.
I would highly recommend you don't do that. And I guess we got the wide camera here, and then Eddie's like, move over so we can. No, I should move the other way. I have a face for radio. I always like doing radio because I don't have to put on makeup or anything. And now here I am. So if you're up there looking with the wide camera, I'm waving. But if you listen, Jimmy, and I told you last night, I said, look, pull that clip, and you pulled the clip of me saying the Colts would go 12-5. But I said 2 very important things.
You did. You gave caveats.
By the way, I'm Chris Hagan for Fox 59, if you didn't know that. I said, how much tread is left on the tire for Matt Ryan? And I said, can Shaquille Leonard get back to playing like Darius Leonard? The answers to both those questions were not much tread on the tire, and no, Shaquille Leonard is not as good as Darius Leonard. And so there is no 12-5. They didn't win the game 1 in Houston. They missed a very makeable field goal in overtime, and the kicker who missed that is now out the door. And then Matt Ryan benched not once, but twice in one season. Therein lies the problem for your 2022 Indianapolis Colts.
It's a moot argument because the record is what the record is, but my argument the last couple of weeks has been it wasn't as much the tread was off on the tires as much as they had the wrong car for those tires.
Oh, okay.
And that is to say that I still think if Matt Ryan, maybe not here, but wanted to play somewhere else, if the situation is perfect, which is what I thought Indianapolis was, which is what a lot of people, yourself included, Greg Rakestraw, thought they'd be good. I thought they'd be good. This O-line was supposed to be significantly better than it was in Atlanta. This running game was supposed to be significantly better than it was in Atlanta. These weapons were supposed to be significantly better than they've been the last couple of years in Atlanta for him. They weren't that, and he is what he was in Atlanta, which is an immobile quarterback that needs a lot of help to be as high level as an NFL quarterback needs to be. But either way, to share in that misery with you, and I loved my wow, by the way, because I love the confidence you came. I had him 10-6, so I'm not sitting here on a high horse like, oh man, look at Chris. He had him 12. I had 2 wins separating him, and either way, as a 10-1 ball club now, we're both. Both those predictions look bad.
In my fantasy team, I have Jonathan Taylor, and so in the real world and in the fantasy land, you can tell if star players are not producing due to injury or due to offensive line play, that's a Jenga piece you pull out and the whole thing tumbles, because without the line, you don't have the running game. Without the running game, you don't have not as much on Matt Ryan's shoulders. You're not counting on him to drop back and pass 40, 50 times a game. Hey, let's run the ball. Let's run the ball. Every once in a while, let's hit him with this little play-action pass and somebody's wide open. And then by having to throw all the time, it exposed some problems with Matt Ryan. It exposed some deficiencies in the wide receiver core. And so it all goes back. It's like a dog chasing his tail. Chicken or egg. What's the main problem? Where did it come from? You put them all together, and it's a stew of crap for this Colts team. And it's, now you drag this 5-game losing streak into it's not. I hate teams that aren't where they're supposed to be.
Sure.
Like the LA Chargers and the LA Rams, they're not in LA when you're playing that game. You're not in Phoenix when you're playing. You're not in San Francisco when you're playing. So anyway, I keep saying to have a road game at New York or in New York, and they don't. It's in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. But you get the point. When they drag their 5-game losing streak into wherever it is they go, Colts fans more than all have been telling me, hey, let's just lose. Let's just lose out and get a top 3 draft pick. You go in that locker room, though, and that's not what you're going to hear. We're not in this studio right now saying, hey, let's have a crappy show so they'll hire a better person. They'll get a higher draft pick. We're like, no, let's do the best show we can right now and make these people on their lunch break excited as we go into a brand new year and say something they'll remember and enjoy for the rest of their lives, Jimmy, and that's why I'm here today.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Thank
Always
you.
good to have you back in the studio. And to your point about where this Colts season, we're going to talk a ton about the Pacers today. We're going to sprinkle in some Bulldogs as well. Mark Minner's going to join us at 12:30. Matt Taylor at 1:30. JP Shadrick, a mutual friend of yours and mine, covers Jaguars, but also does work for Westwood One, going to join us, give us a big picture on the NFL. And then Nate Atkins of the Star is going to join us at 2:30. But Chris, me and Eddie, we aren't on the day-to-day. I know you're on the beat, but you're on the day-to-day coverage of this team.
Right.
And so from those that aren't behind the scenes and aren't able to see your day-to-day, when you look back on this season for what it is, because the playoffs are gone. They were gone last week when Jacksonville was able to get the win over New York. When you look back at this season for what it is, not just your prediction, but when did you feel like things were legitimately south? Was it Reich's firing, or did it happen earlier than that for you?
When Reich said the famous quote, and Reich had a habit of he'd repeat himself. He would say something over and over. But when he was saying, we're 3-3-1. Okay, we're 3-3. It's almost like he was in shock saying that the team was 3-3. He could not believe the team was 3-3-1. And as bad as that sounded, they've only won one game since then. You were like, wow, 3-3-1. That's a horrible start. Well, it was only going to get worse, folks. And so I think when I felt like it was over, was they were 3-3-1, and Indy zone Terry McLaurin catches that deep ball down to and you're like, the Washington is going to win this game. They are about to go 3-4-1. Washington wasn't that good at the time. It was before they got hot and kind of made their little run. And you're like, they are about to. And then you looked at the schedule after that, and you're saying, wow, they got to go to New England still. They've still got to go to Dallas. They've got the Eagles. So then you recalibrate your prediction at midseason. You're saying 10-7. I'm saying 12-5. Then when you're 3-4-1, and then you start doing the prognostication, you're like, it's probably going to be a losing record, not going to make the playoffs. And then, there was always talk that every week, is Frank in trouble? Is Frank in trouble? Then you found out, he was in trouble. And the saddest thing of all is this division hasn't been that good. It looked like, well, they can't catch Tennessee anyway. Well, they could have.
Yes.
I mean, here's Jacksonville. We'll talk about that later. They've weaseled their way back into it where they're going to play a winner-take-all game in week 18, and they may be going to the playoffs. And we could have one of those things in more than one division this year where a losing team wins the division, and along with that comes a home playoff game. Now, you might get spanked, smashed, mutilated, and mauled in that playoff game, but it's nice to be in that tournament, in that discussion. And I was doing some research. Hard to believe, but I did some research the other day. And right now, I believe it's 9 teams already in, 8 teams out, and 15 still playing for something. 15 teams still in the mix with 2 games to go. And that's the way they want it in the NFL. They want it to be excitement for fan bases. You still have a chance. You're still playing meaningful games. And that's true for 75% of the teams in this league. And the Colts are one of those teams that it's done. They're not going to be in the playoffs. There's no discussion. Eliminated officially last week when the Jaguars won. So that's what's depressing for Colts fans. That's what especially some franchises, they're crap, and you're like, well, the fan base knows they're gonna suck. But there was so much expectation this year, last year, the year before, and that's what's so disappointing. And I've argued with John before about Colts fans being spoiled, and he said, no, they're not. I'm like, yes, they got spoiled.
Yep.
I've talked to former players. I talked to Mike Doss, the former Colt, when he was getting inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, and I didn't say the word spoiled. He said it himself. He said, we got spoiled because we had Hall of Famers in there. We were winning 12 and 13 games every year. That was not the expectation. That was just kind of a known fact. Like, we don't expect to win 13 games. We are going to win 13 games. And you're kind of shell-shocked as, a media member in this town or a fan of the Colts when you're like, wow, is this the deal? We're just never going to win the division again. Never going to win a season opener, like I said. Sure, you got the tie, but still haven't won the season opener since 2013. Still can't win in Jacksonville. So some of the same things, and if you think you're frustrated, imagine how Jim Irsay feels, the proud owner of the team. And by the way, I don't know if we've mentioned, if you go to his Twitter, he has this huge giveaway coming up. JMV and I are going to be a part of this, trying to select some fans to a once-in-a-lifetime deal, really. You've got till 3 Eastern to sign up for that and give state your case about why you should win this awesome package to go watch the Colts play. Not in New York, but you get the idea. It's very close to New York.
I wanted to ask you about that before we went on air, but since you've opened it up, I assume I can ask a follow-up there. Well, do you know what that process is going to be like?
No, I'm not going to pick you, Jimmy.
No, I trust me. As much as I love New York/New Jersey, I don't need to spend any more time with this team than I have to.
I know there's been an overwhelming. I can't tell you how the sausage is made, but I can tell you there's been an overwhelming amount of people signing up, and it is, it touches your heart because you hear stories. Some people have, we're sitting here like idiots talking about sports.
Right.
People have had some rough years.
Yep.
People have had some rough circumstances in their life. So at the end of the day, there are going to be some very excited and lucky fans that get to go on this trip. And here's a fun fact for you, Jimmy. By the way, did you know that 98% of fun facts aren't really that fun? They're just stupid things.
That tracks.
Like this, I'm going to tell you. This is my 24th season covering the Colts. The first road trip I ever went on to cover the Colts back in 1999. You guessed it, on the road against the Giants, November 1999. Colts won that day, by the way. Huge effort from Peyton, Marvin, and the rookie, Edgerrin James. That's how long I've been doing this, and I must admit I got spoiled. It used to be nice to go in the locker room, and everybody's just fun and smiles and talk. And now you go in there, and you almost feel you want to apologize to people before you stick a microphone in their face because there's only so many ways you can talk about, well, what went wrong today? Hey, what went... And those guys, some fans say, oh, they don't care. They care. You're in the NFL. You care, especially you've had all these games on the national stage, be it on prime time or be it on a Saturday when you're the only game going during the holiday. They care. It matters to them. And, they're not just going to say, okay, let's just go ahead and play the string out and go to Bermuda. It's their job. It's their craft. They want to put good things on tape. So don't think for a second that this Colts team is just going to mail it in these last two. They don't want to be known as, wow, this is the worst Colts team we've seen since there was a year without Peyton Manning.
There's no 1-2-3 Cancun going on.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
exactly. Well, now in my years of covering teams, you have seen some guys. I won't say what franchise or name players, but you have seen some guys who are like, hey, when's my flight? When's that final horn going to go off? But yeah, you think about an NFL team and how short an average NFL career is. You need to be doing things now that make sure you're on a roster next year, maybe not on the Colts, but somewhere playing this league, because the majority of players, that's a very short career you have.
And that's why I always try to differentiate that with listeners, because there's a difference between saying, like, for instance, I think the Colts have no business winning these last two games. I'm not a Colts fan. That's just from looking at what the future holds for this franchise. The draft pick is the most important thing. But there is a fine line, as you've drawn there, and as I've tried to draw on the show as well, that these are livelihoods at stake. These are players that we had Kevin Harlan on yesterday, and he stressed it too. Every single snap is on tape, particularly with this extra game. And whether or not the extra game and the idea of maybe adding another game, if that ever happens, I think is excessive. These guys still have to give it their all each and every snap, because they might not. That could be the difference between another team having an interest in you next year and you being playing in the XFL come April.
It's funny because let's say the Colts lose this week and they've got this home game against the Texans. If
We're rooting for the tie, by the way. That's the official stance of
that would be
this
great.
show.
The bookend ties.
Yes.
A similar situation in a division in 2011 when the Colts were going to suck for luck. They're playing the Jaguars in the season finale, and the Colts actually had a lead. And if the Colts had won that game, they don't get the number 1 pick. They don't get Andrew Luck. And so I was sitting there, and I didn't make that trip. I was in the sports office, and I was like, these Jaguars are idiots if they don't just let the Colts, because you're anticipating Luck playing for 15 to 20 years, a Hall of Fame type career. And why would you just sacrifice 1 quarter of football to make sure the Colts aren't going to get this guy that you're going to play twice a year? So that in and of itself tells you the level of professionalism and the level of desire to win that you see from guys in this league, even dating back to a decade ago.
You can look at this season. Look at Houston right now. That's why that's no longer if you're looking at it from a who's going to win standpoint instead of a tank standpoint. Start the year, and even 5 weeks ago, you look at the Texans end the season, you're like, that game either won't matter for the Colts, or if it does, that's a game they're going to win. And now they're out here with Jeff Driscoll and company. I can't remember. I've done this twice now, 2 days in a row. But they have the tandem of Davis Mills and Jeff Driscoll, and they're averaging 20, 25 points a game. And they almost beat Kansas City the other week, and that's the number 1 team in the draft, Chris.
And look at this. They've got the Jaguars at home this weekend, a team that they beat down in Jacksonville. Right. And then they have the Colts. They could win those 2 games and lose that number 1 pick, which is interesting because, if you're a Colts fan, you want the Bears to get that number 1 pick because they have their quarterback,
right? And
you'd like to slide up. We talk about games that don't matter or don't tank. How about the situation the Titans are in tonight, where literally they don't need to win and they can tank this game and still play for the division next week. It'll be kind of a winner-take-all game against the Jaguars. So the Titans, you drop this game tonight, maybe on purpose, and then next week you're still playing for the division title and a playoff berth. And also, if you don't win next week, you drop this game tonight too, and that way that would help your draft status. So a very, very strange situation. And the Titans are going to rest a lot of people. They're playing the Cowboys. The Cowboys a double-digit road favorite. Mm-hmm. You don't see a lot of that in the NFL, double-digit road favorites. And I know, by the way, I have a good idea for like a show for you or your gambling segment.
Okay.
Have you ever said "What's Cooking with Jimmy"? Have we ever done that?
High school did. Yes,
that was the exact name of it?
There was What's Cooking with Jay Cook. There was some vibes.
So
there
you're
for
saying
sure.
my genius was bested by some high school kid? I
am. Yes, the gentleman to look at.
Was that your idea?
It was a collaborative effort. I won't take full credit for it.
So I'm as smart as 3 high school people.
Yes,
is what you're saying.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
What's great too about we have 3 hours to talk, and your phone calls are welcome as well. And
317-239-1070 if you want to join the conversation.
Some of the things I want to hear from callers, to tank or not to tank. I'd also like to hear your New Year's resolutions. Do you make them? Do you keep them? That was the topic of my little bit I did with the Colts last week, hearing some of their resolutions. Also, best or worst sports moment of the year for you in 2022. You don't have to answer now.
Okay.
Jimmy.
Yeah, we got 3 hours.
We'll see what's cooking with Jay Cook later. It is one of those times of year, though, where, I don't know, as you get older like me, Jimmy, one day you'll become more reflective and you'll sit around and say, what have I done this year? How have I gotten better? How maybe have I gotten worse? What is my plus minus in my gambling account? And what's bad about the gambling accounts is you can hit that button and look. I never look. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't want to know if it says minus this, or if it says plus that. That's great, but then you start thinking, do I owe taxes on that? So if you have the gambling apps, and please gamble responsibly.
Yes.
Don't hit that button. That's one thing. It's like certain doors in buildings, you don't open that door. So
that's why I put an amount in there to start the year, and then that's how I know. I don't want to look at the full sheet and know, you've lost this many games, because you might rally, Chris, but that's how I play responsibly. I don't put any more in there than I set the season for.
So you put the $100,000 in there to start the season,
and then we see where we go from there.
It's like when I believe in the gambling gods that watch upon me, because if I'm making these little bare minimum bets,
sure,
that's when I'll go 11-1. And then when I'm like,
second you pull out the big
let
guns.
me go ahead and crank this up here. I'm on fire. That's when I'll lose like 6 in a row. Same thing if I'm playing blackjack and I'm betting table minimum. hey, wow, I'm splitting, I'm doubling down here. Let me crank this bet up. That's when I start getting the 14s against the ace. And you're like, you look around and you're like, okay, this is pretty funny. Who's doing this? Who is pushing the button?
Where's the camera?
To how do they know when you up that and change that? So it is smart to kind of have the same unit, go with the same units. Last night, my primetime winner, though, I offered up to my subscribers, and by that I mean my degenerate friends. It was Alabama on the road against Mississippi State, my beloved Bulldogs. Alabama laying 2. Alabama won by 11.
Nice.
So those are certain ones where I kind of, in a way, I'd be happy if Mississippi State won, but if they lost, which they did, hey, I got paid for it. So that's another little thing you can do. I mean, if you've been a Colts fan doing that this year, you've been getting paid a lot of money.
Yes, and that's emotional stakes. There are emotional hedging is what they call that. Where if your team is going to be bad, and so you want to be paid for that misery, you go and bet the other side.
You're hedging your happiness, and that's
exactly.
I know later on the show, Jimmy, will this be a day you give out some picks for the weekend? Yes,
and at the end of the show, we will give out.
You
some
have
bets.
some prepared.
We do have. I know that you're in here for today. Just for our listeners, for this sake, we do have another show tomorrow where Brendan King will be back in here. So I might not go full-fledged New Year's weekend picks, but there will be some bets for today.
I think that show tomorrow is going to be a lot worse than this one.
It will be,
this
definitely.
Is way better.
Yep.
So bring all your good stuff today.
We had past audio ready to go to open the show. It's the first time we've had that.
Bring all the good stuff today, yeah. And then when it's time to hit a break, since I don't know, you can start giving me the rodeo cowboy guy with his lasso. It is funny because when I have John on my TV show, he's used to this format where he just starts talking and never shuts up. But on TV, it's like 4 or 5 minutes. So in my mind, I'll be like, okay, I'll ask John. I got like 4 or 5 questions. I'll ask him one question, and they're like giving me the rep. I'm like, well, John, we're done. And he has that surprise. I'm like, it's different. TV is different than radio. So then I get in here and I start looking around for somebody to tell me like, hey, the show's over. You've talked far too long. So it is fun to flex. I don't want to say muscle because I don't have any, but flex a different kind of muscle and come in here and hang out with you guys, which is quite frankly an exciting time of the year. I know a lot of people want to talk about how bad the Colts are. I liked, and we will talk about how good the Pacers have been and what an exciting team they've been. Do you know the over-under for victories they had to start the season?
We've talked about it a couple of times. I think the number was 17, 15 maybe, somewhere around there.
I saw it at 22.5 the day before the first game. And what are they like at? I think they're like at 18 already. Yep. I mean, before they're above. Yeah,
you're right. They haven't hit it yet. It wasn't the 20s. You're right.
They're going to hit that thing. I think the Colts were one of the first teams to settle their over/under on losses. They were 10, I believe. I think the Colts went 10. So they were one of the first NFL teams to be settled. I think the Pacers may be the very first team. What are you laughing at, Jimmy? You're reading a text of somebody saying Hagan sucks? What's going on here?
A friend of the show and a friend of ours, Jason Hammer at WIBC, chimes in as well with your gambling gods issue. Last 2 weeks for him, a Bills running back voluntarily going down at the 2 in the snow, still not a first down. The Patriots-Raiders lateral, and then, I'm assuming this is last night, Arkansas giving up a touchdown, an onside kick, and a touchdown, all in the final 60 seconds, and 3 overtimes means only a 2-point conversion, so the cover got screwed.
I saw that because I had given out Kansas as one of my picks, and I'm like, well, I was way wrong on this. And I was watching something else, and Chris Widlick at work, he texted me and said Kansas ! And I'm like, well, this ought to be good. So I flip it over. I'm like, you got to be kidding. And then after the game, I saw what Hammer's talking about, the montage of they're down 15 with like $1:12 to go, and it's touchdown, onside kick, touchdown, 2-point conversion, and you're like, but then you can still cover that number, right? Unless you go to I think it's the third overtime when it's just 2-point conversions, which is a garbage rule because
it's awful.
If it gets to that, and you are got a team that's laying between 2 and 6, you just got pardon the pun, you just got cooked because
nice.
You can start using that. You give
I
out
will pocket that one.
You give out a winner or something like that, and somebody goes against you. You can tell them they got cooked.
Will you do the voiceover work for me so I get as a sounder?
I'd love to.
Okay.
I will. You got cooked. Mark the tape on that.
Eddie, clip it.
I'll do a better one later. But it's so much more exciting when teams are competing and you're talking about. And what's funny is we'll be doing this for a while, talking about where the Pacers are in the Eastern Conference. You're not talking about where the Colts are, and you thought that would be flip-flop this year. You thought the Pacers were building for next year, perhaps the year after that, then they'll really be in the conversation. But they've played well. They've beaten some quality opponents, and they've got an exciting style and they've got exciting players to watch, young talent that you're like, and if you're a naysayer, you start going, okay, they're really good and they're young. Can you keep them here?
Right.
That's something we've
a lot of scar tissue here for sure.
So you think about those things in the past. So that's what I want to talk about today, Jimmy.
I'm right there with you. Pacers are the lone bright spot. A year ago, we couldn't say that. JMV stressed that a lot last year, that there was just a lot of suck around Indianapolis and Indiana sports. Not so much right now, at least anyway. Purdue, top of the land. Pacers are fun to watch. And another team that's very fun to watch, who, and Eddie, if I'm too early on this, now you put it on the board, so I'm not too early on this, the Butler Bulldogs, with Thad Matta in his first year at the helm of this, I guess, relaunch of Thad Matta at Butler. Of course, already being there at a previous stop. We'll talk with the voice of the Butler Bulldogs, Mark Minner, as Butler set to host Providence in their final tip of 2022 before the calendar shifts into the new year. Jimmy Cook and Chris Hagan coming to you here, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
There's only one company that meets the gold standard in hair restoration and hair transplants. We Grow Hair Indy. Hey, it's JMV, and I'm here with Darren Andrews. Darren, people are coming from all over the world to We Grow Hair Indy to grow their hair back.
Hi JMV, it's great to be here. Yes, they are. And JMV, as you know, we are very proud of the technology and the results at We Grow Hair Indy. We Grow Hair Indy is one of only 2 places in the entire US that offers both the Artist Robotic FUE and our trademark procedure, multi-unit hair grafting.
I was tired of my bald spot, which is why I went with multi-unit hair grafting and got more hair in one procedure. Call 888-724-5129 for a free evaluation. That's 888-724-5129, 888-724-5129, and grow your hair back. The one company that has the best technology and results. WeGrowHairIndy.com, the gold standard in hair restoration.
You had a solid retirement dream. Sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But inflation and recession has you wondering if all your hard-earned equity will still be there. What if you could recession-proof your equity right now? You can with TrueHold. TrueHold will buy your home for its best current value before a recession can erode it. You get to bank all the cash now and live in your home for as long as you want. And TrueHold covers all property taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. And since TrueHold pays your home's current value in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you'd like. Don't wait for inflation, recession, and interest rates to erode your home's value. Visit TrueHold.com and discover how much TrueHold will buy your home for today, based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit TrueHold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without having to move. That's TrueHold.com.
Nobody cares for you like family. Family Heating and Air.
Hey, this is Malia. We often get asked when is the best time to buy, and the answer is today, not tomorrow. With rising utility costs, rising product costs, and missed opportunity costs, which you could be saving with a high-efficiency system. Give us a call today to schedule your free in-depth estimate, 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Hey, it's JMV for the absolute best in plumbing. That's Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing. 317-284-9526. Let's talk about 83 are free involving any drain in your home. Means LD Smith is going to come out, make sure your drains are clog free for $83 or the visit is free. That's 83 are free at 317-284-9526. The best in plumbing, Lance and his local team online, ldsmithplumbing.com.
Yo, Pablo Torre here, host of the ESPN Daily Podcast. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Pablo Torre. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's JMV, and I have your New Year's Eve plans locked down with Yacht Rock Review coming to the Murao Old National Center. Ring in 2023 with these smooth and incredible sounds, and the party is on with Yacht Rock Review. Tickets starting under $25. Log Log on for Yacht Rock Review, livenation.com today.
It's time to say goodnight to that check engine light with the free AutoZone Fix Finder service. It'll help troubleshoot the likely cause of your light for free. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
The Colts spend New Year's Day in New York. Well, technically, it's in New Jersey. It's the Colts and Giants Sunday from MetLife. Pre-game at 10, kickoff at 1 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
97.1 Hank FM is Indy's number one for new country.
Trying to catch a good time.
And catch the Colts each game day starting an hour before kickoff. On your home for Colts football. 97.1 Hank FM.
$1 zillion.
Who let the dogs out? 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 Who let the dogs out?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
But the party was nice, the party was pumping. And everybody
Who did let the dogs out? Hey, it's Chris Hagan. I'm here with Jimmy. I'm here with Eddie in the show that has no name and probably no listeners either. Hi, I work at Fox 59, but I'm here today. I got up early, and I know you're saying, Hagan, the show starts at 12. What do you mean you got up early? I got up early. I usually go to work at 2:30, so here I am. Had to set that alarm clock, Jimmy. 11 a.m. That was a rough one. The sun was already up. I was like, wow, this is going to be a rough one. But I got up, I took a shower. I wouldn't have showered. I would have worn a hat, but I knew there were these cameras in here now.
Yep.
You know, you shouldn't marry the two mediums. What do you say, media? The two media? What's the word?
Yeah.
You shouldn't marry TV with radio. Radio, I have the face for radio. That's why I'm supposed to be in here. But nonetheless, we're going to talk a little Butler basketball. Is Mark ready, Eddie? Ever ready, Eddie? Let's bring him in on the guest line, brought to you by the Mower Shop in Fishers and themowershop.com for all your snowblower, commercial, and residential mowers, plus service and power tools. That's a pretty good entry when you talk about Mark Menner, voice of the Bulldogs. Mark, haven't seen you in a while, buddy, but I've heard you on the radio. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and you do know you've got one listener. You've got me.
There we go.
So I got you. I got you.
Mark the tape, because I think that would be a great endorsement for this program when you have a media personality. Hey, you got Providence at Hinkle tonight, 6:30. A little bit earlier tip. I know players have their routines. I was joking about having to get up early to be here at noon. How does a little earlier tip alter your game day routine?
Yeah, it is a little bit more of like it's still the afternoon one. The ones that are tricky are like the noon tips, where you're like wake up and you're like, okay, we got a game in 90 minutes. We got to be over at the arena, and then and the ones that are really long are these 9 p.m.s, and you see these in the Big Ten too, where you have like 9, 9:15, 9:30 ones where it's like the whole day is there. 6:30, 7, 8. Those are great times for a game. So not a ton of material difference. I'm just glad you're awake and going to be able to see the game or listen to the game tonight.
I know one thing. Regardless of tip time, if it's in Alaska, Hawaii, Bermuda, Great Britain, when they throw that ball up, Mark's going to be ready to roll. Don't let him fool you. Tonight, looking at a Providence squad, you don't want to get too slow out of the gate when you talk about conference play. Hate to fall to 0-3. What do the Dogs need to do tonight to get on the right track?
Yeah, you look at the first two games, Butler coming off an 8-3 non-conference. The first two games you knew were going to be tough because you got two of the top teams in the league. UConn, a team that's right at neck and neck with Purdue for the top team in the country right now at home to open, and then Creighton, who was a preseason top 10 team, then without Ryan Kalkbrenner, and he came back, and Bulldogs took two tough losses to open. You're right. This is kind of one of those games where you get a Providence team that's been really strong of late. They've won 5 in a row. They're off to a 2-0 start in the Big East. But if you want to compete, you want to compete in the Big East. Those home games, if you're not going to get those games against UConn and even Creighton's really difficult, you got to try and win some of these ones at home because going on the road is so tough in the Big East. And this is a Providence team that I think there's two thoughts to this, Chris. One is just, tactically, what do you need to do? And then big picture, what do you need to do? One of the big things for the Bulldogs right now has been they've had a very lean rotation, and they've started to bring players back now. And that's always tricky in the middle of the season. Ali and Jalen Thomas, two players that have transferred in from Georgia State and Akron, starting to come back, playing minutes, and you knew that their role was going to be a little bit bigger at the start of the season, but just hadn't played in the Bulldog uniform. So figuring out what the right rotation, the lineup combinations are, the minute distribution, that's just something that the Bulldogs have worked through in the last couple of games, and will hopefully have a few days, really a week, to get ready for this matchup against Providence to kind of figure out what's their identity, what's their game plan going to be. And then in the game, Providence is Providence. They do the same thing every year, which is they are super physical. They get to the basket. They run a flex offense. It's going to be really, it's one of those games where two things are really important. Number one, rebounding. Providence, one of the best offensive rebounding teams, not just in the country, but certainly in the Big East. And Butler's really struggled on the glass, getting big, margins in terms of being out rebounded in the last couple of games. So can you be physical? Can you get rebounds? Can you limit their second chances at the rim? And then number two is going to be a Providence team that loves to get to the line, that loves to draw contact against the Butler team that's second lowest in the country with only 12 fouls committed per game. So can you defend without fouling, knowing how physical Providence is going to try and make it?
Mark Minter taking some time with us via the Motor Shop and Fishers hotline and themotorshop.com for all your residential, commercial mowers, snow blowers, power equipment, and more. The Motor Shop has you covered. Mark, we talked to your broadcast partner, Nick Gardner, last week, just before this two-game slate with the losses to Connecticut and Creighton, and he talked about the anticipation for returning Bulldogs like Jalen Thomas and Ali. I know you kind of mentioned them a little bit there and how important it is. Butler only getting, for the first time all season, 11 guys in action in their matchup against Creighton, and obviously that rotation is going to be fine-tuned, and as you said, that's hard to do on the fly, but how important, once they get that established, will Jalen Thomas and Ali be for this Butler roster that's hoping to get back to the big dance?
Well, I think very important, and let's take them one by one there. Jalen Thomas brings size, but he's a different type of player than Manny Bates. Manny Bates, the North Carolina State grad transfers, come in, one of the best shot blockers in the country, physical presence, but has had to be a little bit more timid or a little bit more limited in terms of his aggressiveness, because without him, the Bulldogs just don't have the same size without Jalen Thomas. So while Jalen Thomas is a little bit more of a different game, he'll spot up and shoot. He can extend out a little bit further. Manny's this physical shot blocking presence. So you got two different styles for your bigs there, and I think it gives Manny a little bit more comfort to be able to be his natural self in terms of how he plays. On the Ali side, this is a guy who was leading scorer for Akron last season, a team that went to the tournament, and Ali, who's capable scorer in multiple dimensions. So it just gives Butler another opportunity offensively. He's also got a little bit more size as a wing to be able to bring a little bit different of scoring threat. So when you had nights where maybe the shots aren't falling for some of the starters for the Bulldogs, for some of the core returning guards, and Eric Hunter Jr., can Ali really help lead the Bulldogs in scoring or provide a really good threat off the bench, depending on what his role develops out into the season. So I think it creates additional versatility and depth with some talented players that have been there and done it in college basketball before, just trying to get their legs back under them, get their conditioning back in game shape.
You think about Thad Matta, and he's just a Butler guy through and through, and it was funny when he got the head coaching job, and people were talking about, well, he was head coach here before. You think that was just a blip on his resume, because he rose so quickly after being an assistant, then he gets the head coaching job, and then he's gone so quickly. You can't argue with his success though everywhere he's been, and I've came into contact with him 20 some years ago. Always just impressed with the man, the personality, and the coaching. Obviously, it's been great to have him back. What kind of fingerprints of his have you seen on the program just in the short time he's been back?
Yeah, it's been great to have that. I didn't know him too well prior, and obviously, anytime there's a coaching transition, it's always bittersweet in all directions. But to have a guy like Thad Matta come back, who, as you said, not only has coached here, has played here too. Has played here, was an assistant, was a head coach for a year, had a lot of success in terms of helping the Bulldogs at the beginning of this millennium. But I think when you think about his DNA and Thad's fiery. Thad is a tough. He is competitive as heck. He is going to get out there, and he is going to, I think stylistically what you've seen is a looser offense where they've tried to run a little bit more. They've tried to kind of read and react a little bit more this year. So there's some technical stuff out on the court, but just I think in the locker room, somebody who's been there, done that at the highest level. He's got a 740 win percentage, one of the highest win percentages in all active coaches in college basketball, and so he has the credibility, he has the experience. His teams historically, if you look back at them, have gotten better as the year has gone on. And I think the other thing is he's just seen it all before, right? So he's not going to overreact in one situation. He's not going to underreact in another situation. He understands how to manage a game, how to manage a locker room, and he understands what it means, what the expectations are at Butler. So it's been fun to watch him, not just on the court, which sometimes it looks like, Thad's about to lose his mind out there. Gets back in college basketball. After some of those games, it's like, oh, you didn't miss that part for the last 5 years. But I think even just the learning and the teaching, and you talk to the players, and you talk to some of the other staff members like a Greg Oden, like a John Diebler that have played for him, that have come back and now on staff with him. You understand what type of family atmosphere Thad creates, and while he has high expectations and high demands, he also is a teacher. He's an educator. He's a motivator. He liked to call himself. We were at an earlier event. He said, I feel like somebody told me to watch Ted Lasso, and I watched Ted Lasso, and I thought maybe this is kind of my next chapter. Like this is my next style. And then you get out there in the game, and it's like you can be Ted Lasso and still realize that the Big East is really, really a tough conference. And you got to bring it every night and keep that intensity up. But it's been a blast to get to know him and just to watch and learn how he manages a team, manages a game, and manages the season.
What's funny is, and you're privy to this more so than us, who occasionally get an interview, but when you're with a team, so many people only see a coach or a player on game day, and they'll be like, "Oh, I hate that guy." I know so many people hated, Brian Cardinal. Oh, I hate that guy. But then you meet some of these coaches that are so fiery on the sideline, and players that kind of, play with a chip on their shoulder, and they're like the nicest, the sweetest guys. And you no, you'd love them. You'd love to go have a beer with them. You'd love to go. It's just when you see them in that narrow 2-hour window of game day, players and coaches alike, sometimes it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, isn't it?
Well, you know that. And some guys, it can literally be, let's take, Greg Oden, for example, right? And the kind of monster he was on the floor. And I think, the success he had in college and then the number one draft pick, and when you meet somebody like Greg, you think, well, this guy was a beast. He was aggressive and all these, and you meet him as like a gentle giant, right? He's the nicest guy in the world, and so I think that goes with its players, to your point, coaches who are on the sideline, who have the different type of pressure and different ways they motivate. I think it's the challenge with that sometimes is when you have freshmen or 18, 19-year-old kids, and it's people draw these quick conclusions of who they are or how that part is always tough to watch, and because these are guys that are going through college and going through their own ups and downs on the court in life, etc. So you're right. There's always so much more beyond the 2 hours on the floor or the 3-minute video clips that people see to add sort of the texture of everybody's life. And that's what makes it fun, right? That's what makes it fun to go through these seasons and kind of watch and observe a program like Butler.
Mark, I always find it fascinating to ask different color analysts and play-by-play guys of teams where do you think this team is going to go? How do you feel about the pulse of this team? Can they make some noise in their conference tournament? Can they make the big dance? On the NBA side of things, it's obviously a larger sample size in terms of games, so you can afford to wait a little bit longer before you make that designation of this team has the potential to get to where they want to go. In your area, it's unique because of the injuries, specifically to Jalen Thomas and Ali, that you don't really fully know what this complete product is going to be. This is their final game, obviously, of 2022. As we get into the real meat and potatoes of the conference schedule, at what point in January will you feel like there's a clear identity of this as a team that can be a legitimate threat in the Big East and ultimately reach their goal of making the big dance and making some noise there?
Yeah, there's always kind of those sections this season, right? I think the non-conference portion, you look back at Butler and you think, okay, 8-3, and you had a super lean rotation during that time. Didn't get some of the ones you wanted to get in terms of those highest profile non-conference wins, but you got some good ones and you didn't lose to anybody you shouldn't. Now you're in the early part of conference season. You've got a tough start to the schedule, but as you creep into January here, Jimmy, right? You only have 20 games in the Big East, right. And if you're trying to go 500 or a little bit above 500. every loss gets starts to feel like a weight on you, right? And so I think now you look at these next few games. You've got a matchup against Providence at home. You've got Georgetown on the road. You've got DePaul at home. You look at this stretch of games and you think, okay, now we've got Ali and Jalen Thomas, at least a little bit in the rotation, a little bit more time to practice. Can we start to figure out what our identity is going to be? Because if you're looking at games, Georgetown, DePaul, two of the teams that are kind of lower in the conference, can we get our sea legs under us and our identity built before we head into the 9-game gauntlet of January? And then the pressure just continues to mount, of course, in February and March. But like I said earlier, one of Thad Matta's staples is his teams get better. You look at winning percentage in February and in March, and over his 17-year career at Ohio State and beyond, his teams just get better and they adapt. So excited to see what kind of adjustments and identity gets built as the players do return.
And that's the exciting thing I was about to follow up with you, Mark, is, the coaches say, one game at a time, it's a long season, but this is when you hit that stretch where you find out what this team's going to be. Is this going to be a memorable season? Because you're 0-2 in the conference. You got some winnable games starting tonight. You make a little burst, and then the picture starts to develop. So you got young guys, you got a new head coach. You're trying to blend all that in. But right now, the time to get ready is over. It's time to see what this is all about. So for me, this is the exciting part of the season. As Jimmy said, you flip the calendar, and these games, they just start coming fast and furious, don't they?
They really do. And I think your point about the Providence game tonight is Providence is a good team. They've got a great program. This is an NCAA tournament team season ago, won the Big East. They got Bryce Hopkins, a transfer from Kentucky, who's been a stud in the conference, 16 points, 13 rebounds a game. This game's about, can we show what type of physical team we can be, right? A team that's real. You've been out-rebounded by big margin the last couple of games. You know what Providence is going to do. They're going to try and bully you. They're going to try and draw fouls. They're going to try and grab rebounds, second-chance opportunities. I think this is as much, about a statement of, like, who are we at home, right? Who are we as an identity with our team? Can we hang with the physical nature of Big East teams night in, night out, which is going to be a big test beyond just the getting the players in the rotation and the other things we were talking about.
And you like to reward those loyal Bulldog fans. You want Hinkle to be a special place. Get a little Hinkle magic. Get a W. Get them excited about coming out the next time. Mark, we're going to let you run. Do you have a particular pregame meal you like to have before you get on the microphone there?
It's a good. I think I'm going to get a couple 2-topping slices in the media room. That'll probably be where I'll probably roll over with that pregame. Also, I have to say I was listening right before, and I like the idea of somebody got cooked. I think
Thank you.
I think you should hire a patent attorney real quickly and trademark that thing before Jimmy steals that.
I'm glad that you said that, Mark, because that is my intellectual property now. So I'm going to make some money off this.
Very intellectual.
For once in my life, I've been intellectual. Mark, always appreciate the time. Love your work. You do a great job, and I expect more of the same, win, lose, or draw. Let's go get that W tonight, though.
Appreciate you both a ton. Have a great one. Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
That's Mark Menner. He was on the guest line, brought to you by the Mower Shop in Fishers and the mowershop.com for all your snow blowers, commercial and residential mowers, plus service and power tools. I think I read that better that time because I did it. I didn't know you were going to read it as well, so I'm like, oh, Jimmy's going to jump in the mower.com business with me, so I got to elevate my level of read for that. So I hope the Mower Shop in Fishers is pretty excited about that read right there. That might be the gold standard of reads for that.
That's the type of read I feel like that gets you a brand new mower or snowblower popping up on your doorstep.
I know, that's why I said it a couple times just to say. And it is funny because obviously we all have products and services that we like and enjoy. As such, I have my Coke Zero here. I also brought in a Reese's cup, kind of like Christmas tree thing. Now, I don't get any money for saying that.
Sure.
I don't get any free products. But somewhere out there's somebody that just thought, you know what, I'm going to get me a Reese's. So I'm providing them with advertising. And the people at our TV station, they're really weird about that. Like, hey, don't ever tweet about this or don't ever say anything about this because you never know, maybe one of those, you can't be mad about a product. Hey, this is the worst thing I ever bought because, hey, they give us a lot of money. Or you might be stepping on the toes. You mentioned one pizza place. Well, we get paid by this other pizza place. So I hope I don't get any trouble. But, yeah, if somebody wants to send me a free mower, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue about it either. Do you have to tape up a bag of Doritos or a Coke can on set. You got to be worried about making sure all that's
If they gave me enough money, I'd wear like a blazer that had like a Doritos logo on it. By the way, I didn't want to involve Mark in this because I'm sure there's like all kind of legal issues with this. But Butler, a 2-point favorite in this one. Do you like that?
Yes. I will lay the 2 with the Dogs. We'll make that an official play today.
You can't. Yep. No matter what conference, you can't roll out 0-3 in a conference because then you trickle to the bottom, you're looking up. And then the way, some teams are really good teams like, Kentucky, no matter who Kentucky plays, they're going to get your best shot because, it's Kentucky. But if you're one of those teams on the bottom, you start getting everybody's best shot too because they're like, this is a game we can go win. You don't want teams saying, Butler's 0-3, this is a game we're going to win. You don't like teams having that kind of confidence coming into Hinkle. You want it to be like, oh no, we're going to Hinkle. And I just got the finger from Eddie. Not the bad finger, the good finger, the rap finger. We are going to hit a break. He's Eddie. He's Jimmy. I'm Chris Hagan, Fox 59. We are hosting this show without a name. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Pro Football Hall of Famer and 3-time champion. Trust me, I know about joint pain.
Pro Football's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith talks about chronic joint pain and exciting new regenerative treatments from QC Kinetics.
I know what it's like to fight through pain, but now, you and I, we have help. QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced, all-natural regenerative medicine that can give you lasting relief with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Do you suffer with constant pain from arthritis or injury? Pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or lower back? Don't assume steroids, pain meds, and surgery are your only options. Regenerative, restorative, natural solutions are now available.
Don't let your joint pain keep you from doing the things you love.
Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation and learn how regenerative medicine can repair and restore damaged joint tissue.
Make the call to QC Kinetics. Tell them Emmitt Smith sent you.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. 317-559-PAIN.
This holiday season, DraftKings Sportsbook app is giving Indiana Pacers fans a special gift. Everyone can get a no-sweat bet on every Pacers game this December. Head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in under the promos tab, and place an eligible bet of your choice on a Pacers game. If it doesn't hit, you'll get your money back in a free bet. With payouts bigger than ever, DraftKings Sportsbook app is the place to go to bet on the NBA. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers can sign up with a promo code 1075FAN and get a no-sweat bet on every Pacers game this December. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and opt in today to receive this limited-time offer only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the Indiana Pacers. Must be 21 or older, Indiana only. Max reward limits apply. One free bet issued based on amount of initial losing bet. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Here's what's happening with the Fan.
Catch another Bud Light Blue Friday with J&B 3 to 6 at Manly's Irish Mutt. Enter the football toss and you could be the next fan to win a pair of tickets to see the Colts take on the Texans. Think you have the best sports trivia knowledge? Listen to Kevin and Query from 7 to 10 a.m. and call into the pop quiz for your chance to win a signature Jiffy Lube oil service. And tune into the ride with JMV from 3 to 6 this week. You could win 2 tickets to see Leonard Skinner and ZZ Top on Sunday, August 20th at Ruoff Music Center.
Did you know Nissan EVs have traveled 8 billion miles? Just a quick trip to Pluto and back. And what did we learn along the way? Well, that an EV can take on the world, like the Nissan Leaf. It can move racing forward and take your breath away, like the all-new Nissan Ariya. We learned to make EVs that electrify. 8 billion miles driven by Leaf owners globally since 2010. Ariya not yet available for purchase. Expected availability late fall, subject to change.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight guaranteed. Only $49.99. Also, stop smoking with Mark Patrick. This hypnosis is designed to destroy your desire to smoke without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Seminars Thursday, January 19th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking 8 p.m. And Saturday, January 21st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m. Stop smoking 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Hi, this is Danny Reinhardt from Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. From everyone in our family, Kevin, Kim, Corey, Stumpy, Brian, and Morgan, we would like to wish your family a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and please enjoy the holidays. If you do have any emergency services, don't forget to call us at 317-745-4526.
If you're out in Hendricks County, the family to call is Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, your trusted local independent American Standard dealer.
Affinity Whole Health is the leader in testosterone and hormone replacement therapy. You'll improve your mental focus, drive, and the physical benefits are amazing. Go to feelgreatindy.com. See why patients rave about Affinity at feelgreatindy.com. That's feelgreatindy.com.
For over 25 years, Quality Supply and Tool on South Harding Street has been helping Hoosiers with construction projects, big and small. Being local and family-owned gives them a leg up because they're already on your team and ready to go to work, like sales support expert Austin Cowan.
Any questions you have, we have the answers. We have the experts, and we have the tools, such as Milwaukee, DeWalt, and Honda, plus warranties to go with them. Perfect for all the holiday season projects. Let us put some quality in your next project.
Quality Supply and Tool in Jeffersonville and Bloomington, too. Partner with Quality Supply and Tool and think outside the box. Store.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. .93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
They call Alabama the Crimson Tide. Hey, Chris Hagan. I'm back here with Jimmy and Eddie. And we've got breaking news. As we went to break, I said this was a show with no name. Jimmy, breaking news. What can you tell me about the name of the show as we go to break?
It is the Fan Midday Show. It's a template title as we stand, but that's what our graphics say. So the Fan Midday Show is your breaking news.
It's like the generic Frosted Flake cereal.
Yes.
Chocolate bar.
Yes.
Fan Midday Show. Mm-hmm. Well, show me how we throw it to break on the Fan Midday Show.
Well, how we'll throw it to break for this particular point of the Fan Midday Show. Some more breaking news, both from the NFL and some news potentially involving Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren when we come back on the Fan Midday Show, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
You changed the head coach, same result. You changed the offensive coordinator, same result. You changed the quarterback, same result.
If you're talking about it,
The embarrassing performance. This offense either is not very talented or is completely checked out.
We're talking about it.
Offense is absolutely horrific. Just completely, inexcusably, embarrassingly flat.
3 different quarterbacks. Your home for Indy sports. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
You've undoubtedly heard of the calm before the storm. Well, Michaelis is the calm after the storm. More than 3 decades of restoring damage from wind, rain, and hail. They've got your back, not to mention your front, side, and roof. It's why home and business owners beat a path to Michaelis' door, because it's always answered around the clock with welcome arms. Your port in the storm. From site security and tarping services to complete restoration work, they can handle anything Mother Nature throws your way. Seasoned and trustworthy pros who are never deterred by a little wind and rain, or a mother load of it for that matter. Water, storms, fire, and foundations. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
Hey, JMV, you know, I'll never forget the first time someone pointed out the bald spot on the back of my head. That's why I went to We Grow Hair Indy. Here's Darren Andrews to tell you more.
For over 20 years, we've been restoring hair for men and women with every type of hair loss and every ethnicity. No matter the reason for your hair loss, we're here to help. And our friend Rajiv Ram, 2-time Olympian and tennis professional, can attest to this.
I wanted more hair, and they have the best technology there is for it. We Grow Hair Indy cared about me and did exactly what they said they would. The results have been amazing.
I had the multi-unit hair grafting procedure, and I loved that they could fill in my thinning hair on top of my head. People tell me all the time how great my hair looks, and yours can too. Call now for a free evaluation and grow your hair back. Call 888-724-5129, 888-724-5129, or WeGrowHairIndy.com, the gold standard in hair restoration.
A hero from Indiana is being honored at the Rose Parade on the Donate Life float. Mackenzie Licknam will be pictured on this year's float alongside other heroes from across the nation. When Mackenzie was born in 1990, doctors quickly determined his heart was not functioning properly. He was put on the transplant list at just 3 days old, and 10 days later, a donor heart became available. For the next 20 years, Mackenzie lived a normal life with his family, graduating from Carmel High School and attending Vincennes University. Mackenzie unexpectedly passed away at home in his sleep in 2011. Mackenzie became a tissue donor to heal the lives of others in need. His decision also inspired his sister Kelsey to choose a career where she works with families of donor heroes at Indiana Donor Network. Watch for the Donate Life float in the Rose Parade on January 2nd and celebrate Mackenzie and the more than 4 million Hoosiers who have signed up to be organ and tissue donors. Be like Mackenzie and say yes to organ and tissue donation. Learn more at donatelifeindiana.org.
Open enrollment for health insurance is underway and ends January 15th. Eskenazi Health understands this can be a confusing process. That's why Eskenazi Health is here for you, to assist you in understanding your health insurance options and also help with questions surrounding Medicaid eligibility under the COVID-19 public health emergency, which may end soon. Simply go to eskenazihealth.edu or call 1-855-202-1053 to request your telehealth appointment or to get more information.
A new season, a new QB, a new look. Football is back. And so are Bud Light Blue Fridays. Every week, join JMV beginning at 3 for cold Bud Lights, Colts football talk, and your chance to win tickets to Colts games.
Hey, JMV, join me Friday at Manley's Irish Mutt, 10th and Shadeland for your chance at Texans tickets.
JMV, Bud Light, and you. Doing it for the shoe.
This Friday at Manley's Irish Mutt at 10th and Shadeland.
Hey, it's Big Joe for Absolute Comfort, your trusted independent American Standard Air dealer. And owner Chris Swedican sells the Mitsubishi Electric Mini Split, a great option for heating and cooling where ductwork can't be installed.
If you have one of those homes that has baseboard heat or electric heat, ceiling cable heat, these can be specifically designed for those houses because in those houses it's very difficult having to do all the construction and remodeling that goes with adding ductwork into those types of homes.
Find out more by going to AbsoluteComfort.org. Absolute Comfort is your trusted independent American Standard Air Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
The Colts close out their road schedule when they face the New York Giants. Coverage Sunday morning at 10 on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Eddie, did you hijack my playlist? How are you knowing all these songs that I like?
I don't know.
Well, you guys know, frequent listeners to me and JMV, or people who know me, know that I have a traumatic brain injury. So I might have gotten married and had 2 kids with somebody and not remembered. So obviously I could have told you my favorite songs one time and you remember all this, but somehow Eddie is reading my mind, which doesn't take much. Jimmy Cook, along with Chris Hagan from Fox 59, we are hosting say the name of the show again,
The
Jimmy?
Fan Midday Show.
Exactly, back on the Fan Midday Show. And as we went to break, I had to compliment Jimmy because he had a well-crafted tease to make you sit through all those boring commercials, to make you not push that button as you're coming back from lunch. And you're like, wow, that Jimmy's got my interest piqued. Jimmy, hit him with the payoff to your great tease.
Well, we'll start first with the NFL. For the Tennessee Titans, Joshua Dobbs will be starting this evening as the Titans battle the Cowboys. So Malik Willis, it wasn't officially announced that he was benched. It wasn't as dramatic as that, but that is what has happened. Joshua Dobbs now overtakes him as the starter in Tennessee. And then in the college ranks, this from Pete Thamel of ESPN, his tweet, sources, Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren has emerged as a top candidate to be the next president/CEO of the Chicago Bears. He's interviewed in person for the job and is considered among the final candidates. That process expected to wrap up in the upcoming weeks.
How about that? I mean, he already lives there. Like they wouldn't have to pay moving expenses. He'd be good to go. It always makes me wonder. Like you kind of know like how to get a job in this business. You know the path, but like how do you get a job? What's the path to be a athletic director? What's the path to be a commissioner? The path to be a GM? And sometimes I think people don't know that they're on that path. It just kind of works out that way. We're going to talk about Pacers. They play at home tonight against the Cavaliers. Where could you listen to that if you wanted to, Jimmy?
Right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Coverage begins at 6:30. You can hear throughout the night the Great voices of Mark Boyle, Pat Boylan, Eddie White, and Eddie Gill doing a tremendous job here on The Fan for all your Pacers coverage. And what is another barometer game for the Pacers, Chris, as they try to continue to show where they stack amongst the best of the Eastern Conference. Took care of business against Atlanta the other night, and now hoping for a team not only in their own division, but a team a little bit higher up, and always good to potentially take out a neighbor and get a nice W to close the year at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Yeah, we talked earlier about, the Pacers stumbled out of the gate 1-4 on the season, but since then, above 500, really surprising a lot of folks. And I had said, I double-checked my math here and looked, the NBA over-under totals, Pacers were 22.5 wins, and they're sitting there at 18 right now.
I misspoke to our listeners, by the way. There's one more game before the end of the year. Saturday, not going to want to miss that. Pacers-Clippers.
One thing I learned in broadcast school is don't lie to people, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Okay?
And if you do, you got to get out in front of it.
Yeah.
You got to immediately apologize to the audience. And
well, along those lines, if I say something wrong, if I mispronounce something, I used to stop and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I meant." But then I realized people aren't really focused in on you. So if you just keep talking, they don't notice. If you point it out, then they go, "Oh, he must have messed up," which I do a lot, by the way. So listen to this. Our friend of the show, Sarah, not only would you be looking good for your Pacers over 22.5 wins, she says if you did an adjusted odds, if you took Pacers to win 37 or more games this year, that was plus 2,000. We should have had that cooking, Mr. Cookman.
I can sleep comfortably with that because I've admitted it over the last couple of weeks on this show that I did not think the Pacers were going to be this close to the play-in tournament or into playoff position as they are right now through 35 games. They're game over 500. I thought they were going to be closer in with the Wizards or the Magic, about 5 or 6 games under, and still be fun, but did not see this. So I can sleep easy with that because that wouldn't have been the bet I make, but I don't know if Sarah made that bet.
I hope she did.
But if anybody did, you were saying it during the break.
Did you see what the at halftime when the Colts were up 33-0 over the Vikings? Did you see what the money line was on Minnesota when they were down 33-0?
Tell me the number because I live bet it when it was 20-0, and then I still have a little bit of distrust for Kirk Cousins.
Right.
So I didn't double down. I almost did, but didn't do it. I was fine with my early on live bet.
I saw it at 4,500. Eddie, did you see it something more than that?
I got 3,500.
Yeah, Eddie did chase it. Eddie went after it.
That is unbelievable. But it goes to show you two things that we've learned. Actually, I'll say 3 things we've learned in the NFL as of late. 1, no lead is ever safe.
Yep.
2, you've always left too much time on the clock. Somehow, they scored back in the old days. They scored with 45 seconds. This game is over. Well, no, it's not. And a part of that is the fact that they can trot these kickers out there. He's going to try a 65-yarder. Back in the old days, you'd be like, well, this guy, it's not going to get to the 20-yard line.
Right.
Well, guess what? He's going to kick it with room to spare because that's just how the game has changed. The NBA, the game has changed because people have unlimited range from 3. If they're across half court, look out, they might pull up. And in the NFL, if they get around the 50-yard line, they're starting to think about kicking a field goal. So that's why you got to be careful about, when Frank Reich was coach, I asked him about this one time. They were getting ready to play the Ravens, and I asked him about with a guy like Justin Tucker, do you have to be, if you're going in to score on one half or the other, do you have to take that in consideration about, hey, let's not be in a hurry here because it won't take them long to get in field goal range. And now it's not just Tucker. It's a lot of guys that have these legs.
Yeah, I think you know this, Chris, but our listening audience definitely does because they've heard me say it a number of times. I'm a massive Chiefs fan. That's what the family I was raised into. And, there's a lot of teams now, particularly Buffalo, with scar tissue to, they kicked off in the end zone to Kansas City with 13 seconds left. They get down the field. Harrison Butker hits a field goal, and they win in overtime. That is the state of the NFL now with so many different electric quarterbacks and smart coaches that realize, hey, a couple either check downs, a little 15, 20-yard gains, and we're in business. I don't know why this popped into my head, but last night some highlights popped up into my TikTok feed, and one of them was New England against St. Louis when they were navigating down the field, and John Madden's like, I would play for overtime here. I would, and they did. That was one of the earliest memories I have of a Super Bowl game, and that's what happens in today's NFL now. Back then, it was Vinatieri was the leg of all legs. Right now, you have a number of different kickers across the league that you feel confident 50, 55, even occasional 60-yarder to trot them out there.
In the old days, they'd say, "Well, they're gonna throw up a prayer here. He's gonna try a 52-yarder," and you're like, "No, this is what he does every day." It is funny to me is that you think about elite level athletes, and they'll be 3.7 seconds on the clock in basketball, and they're like, "Oh, I got length of the court." Well, guess what? We know that these guys can run 40 yards in less than 5 seconds. So why are you surprised if a guy can go end to end? Also, a lot of these teams, there'll be 7 seconds on the clock and you're at midfield and you're throwing the Hail Mary. I'm like, no, the defense is playing so far off the line. This guy can run 15 yards in like 2 seconds, 3 seconds. You've got plenty of time. Throw it, step out of bounds. And I think a lot of teams get skittish of, well, you don't want the clock to run out on you, right there at the last second, and you didn't get that last playoff. But take into consideration the kind of athletes you have. Now, Jimmy, you know me. I always come in, when I come on the show here, I'm not handsomely compensated to be here. I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart. And so as such, I want to pass along a couple of New Year's resolutions for you and the listeners. And I say it tongue-in-cheek, but I really mean it. So I want you to be serious about this.
Okay,
Are you ready?
You. Yes.
Eddie, you paying attention? Now listen, these New Year's resolutions are something that I already do because, as we know, I am the perfect human. I've done everything right my entire life. And a couple of things that happen all the time. 2 things I want you to do out there if you're listening. A lot of you are probably driving around right now, and I want you to realize your turn signal works, and it's there for a reason, okay? Make a resolution you are going to use your turn signal. Now, that's not it. You have to use it correctly, Jimmy, because you don't put the turn signal on after you've already stepped on the brakes, come to a halt, and now you're beginning your turn, and then you flip it on. I know you're turning now. What you do is it goes turn signal, brake, turn. Say it with me.
Turn signal, brake, turn.
Thank you. You see how quickly these yip-yaps picked up the process here?
If we can do it.
Yes.
Anybody can.
I mean, we are simpletons in this studio. That's all you have to do. Now, my second one, I've got more for later, but that's the first one. Turn signal, brake, turn. Now, as you're driving around, maybe you're perfect like me. I want you to look and see how many people are not doing that the right way. And that leads to some of these road rage incidents. This will get you fired up. So anyway, that's one of them. 2, if you're at the grocery store and you're going to go through the little scan it yourself lane, which is what I always do because not married, no kids. I don't buy like groceries for 3 weeks. I go in there and buy stuff for like 2 days.
My wife doesn't trust me going to the grocery. I'll buy stuff I don't need.
Exactly. That's what I do. So you walk in there. Now, if you're going to go through this super convenient line, I'm not going to give a free plug to the store, but there's a place where they have basically nowhere to even put stuff down. They're like, you just scan and you just keep running. You look up above that, there's a sign, and it says 5 items or less. 5 items or less. So I don't like to get bags. I'm a recycling nerd, so I'm going to carry all my stuff out like a juggler. So you go up in there and you look, and there's some lady with like a cart full of stuff. Now, believe it or not, some people recognize me because I'm on TV, Fox 59. So I can't be the one to go, hey, look at that sign, because then I become the a-hole from TV that yelled at somebody.
Sure.
And if you say anything to somebody in a negative way, it automatically becomes you yelled at them. I can say, hey, Jimmy, get out of my seat. Hey, don't yell at me. Yeah. I go, look.
You've yelled at me quite a few times already today.
Yes.
So
if I yell, I was dating a girl one time, and she said, don't yell at me. And so then I like really yelled. And I was like, you want to hear me yell? And I like yelled, and literally she cowered in fear. And I go, that's what I sound like when I yell. And I just don't yell at people. So back to my amazingly boring story, wasting precious airtime. Don't go into the 5 items or less, because I won't say anything to you because I'm afraid I'll get in trouble. But I will do one of these numbers. You ever do this? Like you just talk to yourself. Says 5 items or less. I guess the 5 items just... I mean, it says 5 items, not 5 carts full of groceries here. Just, I guess. So that way, if they go, what? Yeah, I'll just talk to myself. But they can't say I was yelling at them or talking to them. So let's get the ball rolling with the turn signal, brake, turn, and the respect the rules of 5 items or less, because they had experts who did all the what do you call it? The analytics, not just for football, but for grocery stores. Sure. And they said, hey, what's the best way to keep this super convenient line rolling? And they came up with a number. They ran it through all the algorithms and Boom, 5. 5 or less is how we're going to do it. Jimmy, that's where I stand on those two issues. Have you made any resolutions? Maybe you've made some in the past that helped change your life for the better, or maybe you've made some that you failed to live up to.
I am trying this year in 2023 to be a little bit kinder on the road, because when stuff like that happens, like the turn, I'm not Eddie's been on the phone. Eddie's been on the phone with me either when we're trying to shut up the show or other stuff where someone will cut me off and I'm yelling at the person and I'm like, Eddie, I'm sorry, it just drives me. But I'm not like one of those people that's chasing them down for 3 lights and like, hey, you. It's not me. But when I'm behind you, I'm not happy.
So you're going to be
I need to
more
be
patient.
a little more patient as a driver.
And you know what? If people adapt the turn signal thing, I think that'll help. Hey, here's a funny story about, at least if you're yelling and you're talking to Eddie, Eddie knows you and knows, he's just in. So I'm on the phone one time and I'm calling like some kind of customer service line, and I'm turning on the Chris Hagan, very polite. And I'm like, yeah, I was just, it's a voicemail. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to follow back and see about getting that appointment rescheduled. Blah, 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 blah. All right, thank you. Just give me a call back. Well, as I'm finishing up the phone call, some idiot cuts me off, and I'm like, what are you doing? And I drop every obscenity. I looked back down at my phone, and I hadn't hung up on the voicemail. So the voicemail was like, thank you very kindly. All right, appreciate you. Just give me a shout back. Pause. What are you? And so then I sent an email, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I hope you hung up right after I said goodbye and didn't have to, hear all this stuff. And she wrote me an email back, and she said, I hung up the phone right away. And then she put the little winky face, which means to me,
she did not hang up the phone right away.
So then I was like, delete. But it is funny about how we were talking to Mark Menner, voice of the Butler Bulldogs, about how coaches can be like Thad Matta, just fiery and intense on the sideline, but that's not how he is in his everyday life. You're not road rage guy. I've never seen you have a harsh word to say. You always got a smile on your face. Eddie, not so much, kind of a Debbie Downer most of the time. But it is, things can get you so fired up in life. But have you ever had this, like you yell at the person, you're like, yeah, and then all of a sudden you look up and the light's red, and so you got to stop and be right next to him.
Yep.
Then you got to put the blinders on, I don't want to look over there. And then you kind of look, maybe they have a firearm, maybe I should look over there and see. But it is like those moments in life. So I like your resolution. Let's kind of chill out and say, okay, sometimes there's going to be an idiot that's on their cell phone and not looking, and they're going to cut you off, but you pay attention, you survive that, and don't let that ruin your day. I mean, because you got a good life. Look at you. You're hosting this show of the name I don't remember of it, but it's a good show.
Yep.
It's a solid show. Those are my 2 resolutions. As for the Pacers tonight, can you give me a little sneak peek on the pick here? I think the Cavs are like a 5-point road favorite in this one.
So, Eddie, remind me, was plus 10 the other night. Was that against? That wasn't against Atlanta. That was last week, right? So we went Pacers in plus 10 against Boston. They won that game. We went Pacers over the Hawks. They won that game. Once again, I'll scoop the points here for the Pacers, or for the Pacers welcoming in Cleveland. The Cavs are, in my mind, Chris, and all small market teams have this dream scenario where you draft all the right pieces and you feel like you're a player away, and then you make that trade that feel like puts you over the edge. And they have done that with the core that they have there. And then go get Donovan Mitchell, and the sky is potentially the limit for Cleveland as being back into hey, we don't need that LeBron fellow to be good. We've been able to build our own thing over here. So Cavs are a fun team. Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, just to name a couple on there. The size matchup with Mobley and Allen, along with the likes of Miles Turner on our front, is going to be fascinating to me. And then another matchup between Tyrese Halliburton and Donovan Mitchell is just, if you're an NBA fan that loves great guard play, you're going to get boatloads of that tonight. Whether you're listening here on the Fan or whether you are watching on Bally, you're going to get boatloads of fun guard play and fun big matchups all throughout this tilt this evening.
I like the fact that this isn't a back-to-back. By the way, the Pacers have been really good on the second half of back-to-backs. 3 games in 4 days. Little bit of a revenge game. A couple of weeks ago, the Pacers led by 10 in the fourth quarter over there, and it kind of went south, and they lost that game. I know it's a long season, but you talk about a nearby division opponent. I think you remember things like that, like, hey, we let one slip away. Let's go out there and handle our business. And, there's certain games, I don't want to say, we talked about mailing it in. It is a long season, and I know there are some games you think, I don't know if you're going to get there. Tonight you're going to get the Pacers' best effort. I think you have, like you pointed out, some good head-to-head matchups, some kind of one-upsmanship, and it has been great to see. Eddie and I were talking off air about the wannabe all-star comments, and how Tyrese has been playing since then. Like, oh, you want to say I'm a wannabe all-star? Let me go show you what kind of all-star I am. So I like this matchup tonight. I like the Pacers on the home court, and there's just something magical about when you have between Christmas and New Year's home games in that window. There's always a little extra juice for them. You feel like you're in that time of year where it's still kind of like, hey, this is a special time of year. This is people perhaps got some of these tickets for Christmas. This is still part of their celebration. So I like that. I like a good atmosphere tonight, and I like the Pacers. I think I'll go money line Pacers would be my pick.
I like that. This week has a whole feel, and look, I'm not going to speak for you, but I joke about this all the time.
How dare you? How dare you?
When you work in sports, I'm not really working. I'm going to talk about the Colts, the Pacers, and throw a dart at a college team, and we get to cover them as well. But there are people in this week where if you're going back to work and you don't have the Christmas to New Year holiday off, it's another bit of a slog, a bit of a grind trying to get into 2023. And when you have, which is why it's unfortunate the Colts are where they're at, when you have great primetime appointment matchups you have to be a part of, particularly at home, it gets you distracted, it gets you ready to go into Gamebridge for a fun contest. On top of that, back to the game itself, a week ago, or when that matchup happened back on the 16th, I beg your pardon, this was still a narrative surrounding the Pacers. They can't close out games. They gave up a 13-point lead in that matchup against Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell went off. Since then, they've had a couple nice, strong closing efforts, particularly against Atlanta just a couple nights ago. So I'm right there with you, Chris. I expect a bit of a revenge game, a bit of a chip on your shoulder type matchup for the Pacers, not just because it's in division, but because they let one slip away up in Cleveland just a couple weeks ago.
And if you're losers like Jimmy and I, you love this time of year because you get the random bowl game at 2:00. You get
beautiful.
Purdue plays at 5, and I teased this to you earlier. I said, "Don't look." Nope. Did you cheat? Did you look? He looked.
I looked at something. I did cheat.
You looked at the point spread, didn't you?
No, I did not. Not look at the point spread. I just want to look at who I didn't. You said the Rattlers, and I had no idea who that was, and I need to find out it was Florida A&M.
Florida A&M. Can you predict the spread? Purdue at home, number 1 in the nation. Your Boilermakers 12-0. They'll take on the Rattlers 2-8. Who do you, obviously, I think Purdue money line's a pretty good bet. What do you think the spread is? How big a number is it?
Okay, you can't see my monitor, but all I have over here is just a matchup. There's no point spread on there.
For somebody that's not trying to lie, you're going through a great deal of
because I feel confident in my pick.
Okay,
and I don't want you to be like, oh, you definitely. I'm going to say 35.
That's a pretty good pick, but I think you might be doing something I did when I was in kindergarten. I'll explain that.
I overreached.
The line is 37.5.
I should have put. I needed a half in there to begin with. That was my fault in general, but that's not bad.
Here's what a diabolical kid I was.
Oh, to hide it, I went too off.
No, you did a good job. But here's when I was playing Pin the Tail on the Donkey. Did they still have that when you were a kid?
I mean, I'm aware of Pin the Tail on the Donkey.
So it's like this. Nowadays, kids are playing like video games and they're doing virtual reality. But in my day, they'd put this donkey up on the wall and you'd have a little tail and they'd blindfold you.
Sure.
Which I'm sure was very safe, giving kids pins to poke it. And you had to put the tail, the one closest to where the tail goes in the donkey would win the valuable prize. So they put the blindfold on you, and I'm like 5 years old. I remember this very vividly. And my neighbor's mom goes, "Can you see anything?" And I could see something.
Sure.
And I said, "No, I can't see anything." So then they point you, they get your shoulders, and they go, "Okay, it's in front of you." Now, obviously, as a 5-year-old kid, you're going to cheat. You would put it right where it belongs. Somehow I was smart enough to know, put it a little bit off, but close enough where you're the winner. And so I went up there and it hit me like, put it about right here. So I put it near but not on. And everybody goes crazy. They're like, oh, they take my blindfold off and I go, oh, wow, look at that. Like, I did a great acting job, which probably tells a lot about me as an adult as well. So I win the valuable prize. So when you said, I'm going to go like 35, I'm like, he saw it was 37.5, but he knew if he said 37.5, I would call BS. And so Your 35 is a little suspect with me right now, Jimmy.
That's why I tried to show you the screen. That's why
If you were under oath right now, would you?
I would not perjure myself.
You would testify
I would
that
testify
you did
that
not see.
35 was a blind guess.
See, the problem with the difference between you and me is you come to the show far too prepared and you do research. So you might have just in the process of getting ready, as a host should do, had done some research. I did nothing. Because I had to wake up really early today.
Right.
Woke up really early at the crack of 11 and hustled on down here. So I had done none of this. So I'm getting excited when I see things. And that's something we do in the sports office now is I'll say out loud, has anybody seen the spread for this? And like the 4 or 5 people will say, no. And then I'll play, let's guess the spread. And they'll guess it. And if somebody gets it right, I'll give them a little, we have an exact pick.
Okay.
And then I'd be like, Eddie, it's not you. And then I work my way around the room until we find out. So that tells you how we spend our time in the Fox 59 CBS 4 sports office.
It sounds like a fun place to be.
Well, it's like in the radio business, you do a whole lot of nothing until it's really time to do something.
Right.
And so people say, I would do the sportscast, the 4-minute sportscast. I do that for free. I get paid to go sit in there and do all this typing and research and putting on a suit and hairspray and stuff like that. So as we talk about the end of the year and we count our blessings, it's great to be here with you guys. It's great to have the listeners out there listening to say the name of the show again.
The Fan Midday Show.
The Fan Midday Show. Do we have a title sponsor? Let's get out there and sell this show.
Not there yet. We're still working our way.
I do have a particular favorite brand of zero sugar soft drink.
My favorite as well.
If they want to bring a check, we'll throw that name out there. But what are you most excited about 2023 sports wise? Because teams and players play the next game. Are you most excited about who the Colts draft in the first round, how high they're drafting? Are you more excited about some of the things we might see from other teams? Are you excited about the Fever getting number 1 pick? Yeah, first time ever the Fever get the number 1 overall pick. As Jimmy feverishly, no pun intended, starts typing in. I believe the Fever have the number 1 pick for the first time ever. So you start looking about that. Then, as we do all the time, we predict things. Who will be maybe not winning the championship? Who's playing for a championship sooner? Colts, Pacers, Fever.
I would take the Fever right now because I really like Aaliyah Boston, and she was on the Team USA circuit that I was a part of for a little bit back in September.
Name dropper, Jimmy.
Try to drop name. I think Eddie's given me the whirly bird, so I'll close with this and say that on the Colts side, I'm excited for the college football playoff. I want to see how C.J. Stroud looks against Georgia's defense, because that might be a landing spot for him is here in Indianapolis. And then nationally, my Chiefs, this long extra 2 or 3 games, which like Colts fans want the season to be over. I want the postseason to start. I'm ready for playoffs to get rolling.
You ready? You did a great tease last time. You want to hear my tease coming up? Now, I'm a Heisman Trophy voter, and I can talk about it now since it's over. I can reveal you make 3 picks, 1, 2, and 3. I can reveal my 3 picks. I did not have Stetson Bennett on there. A buddy of mine who went to high school with me, and now he's an official. He's a referee for the SEC. He'll be white-hatting the Cotton Bowl game.
Okay.
He questioned why I didn't have Stetson Bennett on my top 3 ballot. And I will tell you why after the break. Stay tuned. Eddie, Jimmy, Hagan. It's the
Fan Midday Show.
More after this.
How about this for the perfect holiday gift? Get moving again, pain-free. You can do that via QC Kinetics. They are the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine, taking unique protocols to use healing agents from your own body to target aching joints, repairing and restoring damaged tissue, so you can move again with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. Got shoulder pain, excruciating hip pain? You have any arthritis or lingering pain from an injury? Don't let them operate on you or give you more steroids. You call QC Kinetics with locations in Eagle Creek and Greenwood and get a free consultation today. This is the future of joint pain management, and appointments are available as soon as the next week. So make 2023 the year you say goodbye to joint pain. Call QC Kinetics. That's 317-559-PAIN in Eagle Creek and Greenwood. Give QC Kinetics a call today. 317-559-PAIN.
O'Reilly. Don't risk getting stranded with a bad battery. Our professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery for free. If your battery does need to be replaced, we'll help you find the best battery for your vehicle and your budget. Don't wait until your battery is dead. Get it tested for free today at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's game time.
Oh, ho, ho, ho! Jackson went up with one hand and sledgehammered it down.
The popcorn is popped. The fire is lit. 'Tis the season of balling at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, where all month long we'll be dashing through the lane and delivering holiday cheer.
And it's over! Nemhard beat the clock!
Tip off the new year by celebrating with the blue and gold. Catch the Pacers and LA Clippers Saturday at 3. Tickets at Pacers.com.
At 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, our comfort specialists can handle any heater repair. Just call 855-1HOUR or visit onehourair.com.
Always on time or you don't pay a dime.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in their respective state or county.
Hello, Richard Michaelis, President of Michaelis Corporation, wishing you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. For over 3 decades, the Michaelis team has helped Central Indiana families and businesses facing fire, water, and storm damage. And because emergencies don't take days off, neither do we. If the unexpected happens this holiday season, we're here for you with our 24/7 rapid disaster response service. Because life happens, water, storms, fire, and foundations, make it Michaelis. 844-FIX-INDY.
Hey, it's JMV. Sometimes accidents happen. Truck wrecks, car wrecks, motorcycle wrecks that just shouldn't have happened. It can mean dealing with a lot of pain, broken bones, surgeries, PT, extended medical care, even death. All of which can also add up to catastrophic harm. That's where personal injury attorney John McLaughlin at Parr Ritchie can help. John is recognized in Indiana Super Lawyer magazine as an injury attorney. It's worth a free call to see if John can help you. 317-269-2509 or visit parrinjury.com. That's PARR injury.com.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
It's Kevin and Query.
Separate yourself from it. Excuse me.
You all right there?
Getting choked up.
I know Nick Foles played bad, but not enough to get all emotional about it.
I mean, he might be choking.
I'm here. Like swallowed a frog.
As you were.
I kind of forget where I was. Third party. Are we up against it?
Yeah, I think you could take a break here. I think you're fine.
Kevin and Query.
Weekday mornings at 7.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. And 107.5, The Fan.
Hey, we're back on the
Fan Midday Show.
I'm Chris Hagan. That was Jimmy Cook. Eddie Garrison is running the board and making us sound good. Maybe not look good, but we're doing something well, I hope. Sarah, who gave us the info about the Colts or the Pacers bets, says we sound great, Jimmy. So we got that going for us.
That makes at least 2 listeners if you count Mark Minner. So got that going for us too.
Yeah, my buddy. I'm not going to say his name, but let's just say he's one of the men in blue. When in regards to the use your turn signal, he says, "I come to a stop, then put my brakes on, and then put my signal on." So you are part of the problem. Let's get this figured out. I tell you who always has it figured out. He's our old friend, and he's no stranger to this studio. He's the voice of the Indianapolis Colts. Give it up for Mr. Matt Taylor. Matt.
Coach, what are we doing? I love you.
All right.
It's good to be with old friends.
Well, are you saying I'm old or like a long-time friend? I prefer you say long-time friend.
You're a good time and a long time.
Thank you. The guest line brought to you by the Mower Shop and Fishers and themowershop.com for all your snow blowers, commercial and residential mowers, plus service and power tools. Now, Matt, I'm gonna reveal how the sausage is made. You do a little thing with Chris Widlick. Every week you do Tuesdays with Taylor or Mondays with Matt or some type of alliteration-based segment. And he always calls you and supers you as Colts radio host. Now, I think that's a disservice to you. I would prefer to call you voice of the Colts, but since it's you and your job, what would you prefer to be called?
Oh man, just call me.
You're supposed
I don't know.
You're supposed to answer and make me sound right. That you are the voice of the Colts. You're not the Colts radio host.
Let's stick with voice of the Colts. Let's just keep it simple.
Thank you.
Man of many voices. A lot of voices in his head. Whatever you want to do. Yeah, voice of the Colts sounds good, or you can just do Colts radio unicorn. Guy that can do just about everything, anything and everything.
All right, we're out of time, Matt. Thanks for joining us today. Matt, you've many talents, and we've seen them on display on a stand-up comedy stage in a radio studio, and on the road and at home with the Colts. What is your philosophy when it comes to in a rough year? Let's be honest. Do you sugarcoat it? Do you call it like you see it? Is there a mandate? What is your game day philosophy, win, lose, or in this season a draw?
No, I don't think it's I don't think it really changes regardless of the record. I think it's you're there to report the facts. Be objective. I mean, obviously, you're calling the game with a Colts slant. There's no question about that. And you're going to get you're going to have more pep in your voice. You're going to use your voice as an instrument when the team's doing well. But, when you're sitting here at 4-10-1, whether that's on the air during a game, putting the game into context, or, if you're doing a talk show, during the week leading up to the game, I mean, you got to be real about things. You got to put things into context. You got to tell it like it is. Just like everybody else, you don't make it personal, but you don't shy away from, what the season's been, how they've gotten there, what's led to it. I think the biggest word that I just go back to is just context. Give people reasons for, why they're on a 5-game losing streak, right? Why they've lost 8 of 9, why the offense continues to struggle. And so you don't make it personal. You don't take shots at guys. But, if you want people to respect the broadcast and respect, the fact that they should tune in every day or every game, it should be, tell the story, narrate the game, be objective, highlight the Colts when they do well, but also tell the truth as to, why they're 4-10-1 on the season here.
Well, unlike you, Matt, I do like to make it personal. No, I'm kidding. Now, some folks, even the most diehard fan, they probably haven't watched every play of every game. And I preface that by saying you do. You're watching every play. You're not like, hey, I'm going to go get me something to drink here or get some more nachos. You're like locked in. So not setting you up to sound like a homer or an apologist, but just looking at there are just so few plays where this season could have gone differently. And I mentioned some earlier, Hot Rod misses the overtime field goal in Houston. There's a win. Terry McLaurin catches a miracle pass for the Commanders here. There goes another win. Am I wrong in saying this team is like 4 or 5 plays away from still being in this division hunt when you see, how Tennessee's kind of come back to the pack? I mean, it doesn't seem to me like the team is that far off when you see how few plays have determined a lot of these games.
Without question. And plus, too, if you look big picture league-wide, I mean, seemingly every game comes down to the wire. I mean, you look at I think the Giants and the Vikings are a perfect, those two teams played on Christmas Eve. I think they are a perfect matchup to sort of encapsulate, what the NFL is here in 2022. The Giants have played 12 games this year, where games, the results have been decided by one score. They are, they have 8 wins of those 12. The Vikings are a perfect 11-0 in one-score games. So seemingly every game comes down to the wire. They're going to be decided by 8 points or less. And unfortunately, this year for the Colts, they're 4-5-1 in one-score games. And a lot of those, those 6 non-wins in those tight games are obviously incredibly winnable, and they come down to just a handful of plays every single time out. I mean, the Commanders game, as you brought up, is a perfect game, to sort of drive home that point. The Philly game, when you're up 10 in the fourth quarter, you can't close that out. I mean, just the other day against the Chargers, the Colts are down 13-3, and they get a takeaway in plus territory, and you're going forward on 4th and 1 at the plus 11-yard line, and you can't get it. And it's 2 weeks in a row where basically the game's on the line. It comes down to 4th and inches, and the Colts come up short it's just kind of a microcosm of how this season has been or how the season's gone this year for the Colts. And if the Colts get a touchdown there, it's 13-10. You basically have the entire fourth quarter to go, and it's another one-score game. And who knows if the Colts can make enough plays in the fourth quarter to win that game on Monday night. Instead, you turn the football over. You can't move an inch to get a first down. And then the Chargers go 88 yards on 12 plays, and they get the game-winning touchdown or the game-sealing touchdown in that instance to go up to 20-3. And then the box score says it's a 17-point game, but just the feel and the overall mood or how you feel about that game afterwards, it's like it really wasn't even that close. But for an instance there it was, and that's sort of been the season for the Colts in totality, where they're so close, but yet at other times they feel so far away based on the teams that they're playing, and teams that are making plays against the Colts in crunch time in the fourth quarter, where the Colts aren't making plays down the stretch. So yeah, in some ways it feels like this is a team that's really, really close. And then another ways to look at the season, it's like, yeah, they look and feel like a team that's going to be picking in the top 10 next year.
Yeah, 5 of the 10 losses by one score or less, and then the tie. That's 6 potential wins on the table. And you mentioned, you kicked that field goal against the Chargers instead of going for it, and it's a touchdown game. And then even in the game, the embarrassing beatdown in Dallas, they're going for 2 late in the third to try to make it a 21-21 game. And then you turn it over 17 times in a row. So even that game was a competitive game for 3 quarters. But as you said, and I'm going to pass it over to Jimmy because I know he has a very thoughtful question. But as you said, and as we've seen over the years, the margin between winning and losing in this league is razor thin. Jimmy.
Matt, not to be the bad cop with all this, but to your point about there's 2 sides of that coin, are they really a couple pieces away, or are they just a bad team offensively? Regardless of where that question is answered in the offseason, the Colts are going to have, as you know, decisions to make at the quarterback position, focusing on who's on the roster right now. Saturday's made it clear Foles is going to work out the last 2 games of the season. Not as much for Matt Ryan, but for Nick Foles. What is he playing for, if anything, here, other than he's a veteran, he wants to show he can still do it? Is this still I don't want to call it a tryout, but an audition to still be a part of this team in some capacity? Or is this merely he's an innings eater, to borrow a baseball analogy? We're just trying to get through the last stretch of the season.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. I know both guys are under contract for next year with Ryan and Foles, but we all know what that means. That doesn't guarantee you anything for 2023. And that goes for anybody under contract for next year. Even the likes of guys that are playing at a Pro Bowl level or All Pro level. So I think anytime you take the field, you have to treat that as an opportunity to continue to pad your resume and to continue to stake your claim that you should be part of this franchise going forward. But obviously, quarterback is such a hot button issue, considering this team has had a different starting quarterback every year since 2016 or 17 or whatever the number is. I've just completely lost track. But yeah, Nick Foles knows that he's probably not going to be in the mix to be, in terms of best laid plans, the starting quarterback next year. But he's definitely in the mix to, come back and play out his contract and compete to be the backup quarterback in 2023. So it's definitely, once the gun goes off against the Houston Texans next Sunday, that's going to start a very, very busy offseason for the Colts. And it's going to start first with the coaching search. It's just Jeff Saturday more than just the interim guy. The Colts obviously have a lot to hash out. Anytime you're 4, 10-1, or whatever the record is right now, you have more than just quarterback issues. But I think the biggest issue, or the biggest to-do on that list in the offseason is going to be to figure out what is the best laid plans at the starting quarterback. Do they need to find a franchise quarterback with a top 10 pick? Because they're assured a top 10 pick. We know that.
Right.
And what do they do with that? And if they don't do a quarterback in the draft, can you make a trade, or can you bring in another guy in here that you can establish as a potential franchise quarterback? To me, we talked about this on the podcast this week. It's obviously everybody right now is talking about bringing in a quarterback in the offseason in the draft. If you do that, to me, I think a prerequisite for me has got to be he's got to have some mobility, right? He's got to have some athleticism. He's got to have some dynamic traits about him. And it's not just like the Lamar Jacksons or the Jalen Hurts of the world where, that's front and center. But I think you look at the quarterbacks now with Patrick Mahomes, he's got pocket escapability. Joe Burrow has that. I mean, obviously, the quarterback in Buffalo, Josh Allen, has that. So it doesn't have to be just exclusive, run around, make plays, but you need more mobility than obviously what the Colts have at quarterback this year with, Matt Ryan and Nick Foles. And, the 56 sacks allowed, that's a high number. Obviously, the offensive line is culpable, but I think a lot of that or some of that goes to just the I hate to use this term, but just the statue-like quarterbacks, the lack of mobility the Colts have had this year between Matt Ryan and Nick Foles. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but I think that the Colts are definitely going to have a long to-do list this offseason, and quarterback is right there at the top.
To follow up on that, and Matt, I've never asked you a question like this, so if I am, be broad if I am being too in the realm of you as a team personnel, you can't really answer this, but for you as a broadcaster, you're obviously so focused and so much of your job is on the prep week to week over the rigor of the NFL season, but I know you love college football as well. So a lot of big games coming up that could potentially impact players that the Colts might select in April. How closely, if at all, do you monitor things like bowl season or like the college football playoff as we get close to the last audition for some of these potential prospects the Colts could take?
Yeah, no, great question. And I'm being truthful when I answer this, not at all. I don't watch.
Okay.
I mean, I think I watched a little bit of the third quarter last night between, like you said, just the Groundhog's week that is the NFL season, where it's like rinse, wash, and repeat, and get ready for the next game and cram for the next team and get to know them, intimately for the upcoming game on Sunday. So between that and plus just going home and trying to be dad and right. Having two kids, I don't watch a lot of college football, at least intently, right? I'm not taking notes and I'm not watching film, things like that. So I watched a little bit of the Kansas-Arkansas game last night, but it was just sort of on. It was on the background. It was sort of wallpaper. So to be honest with you, I couldn't even name the top 5 quarterbacks right now in the draft in terms of potential and guys that could go in the top 5. By April, I'll get there.
Right.
But right now, I don't have the brain capacity for it, to be honest with you.
So you're not going to come over to my big cookout on Monday to watch Mississippi State and Illinois?
I'll come.
In the bowl.
I'll definitely come, yeah. But it'll be the first time all year I watch Mississippi State.
Matt will come eat, and then he'll leave before the kickoff. Oops. All right, Hagan, we'll see you, buddy. It is funny how, you get laser focused. I have to kind of keep a lot of plates spinning. I'm keeping up with the Colts, Pacers, Purdue hoops, IU hoops, bowl games. And you, like you said, kind of weird if you ask me, you have to be intimately acquainted with the next week's opponent. So
I just mean, you know what I mean. Don't make it weird.
I just thought it was kind of strange. But anyway, you do have to, because that preparation, and it goes back to your days as a player, you have to be prepared because, who's this number 27 guy that just, did this for the opposing team? And quite frankly, with this year's Colts roster, you've had to get an updated roster almost weekly with that as well, because you don't get to sit back and wait. That stuff's happening on the fly, and you've got to be kind of prepared where some of that comes flying into your head instead of trying to point and search and click.
Well, it's also funny too. I mean, we're playing the NFC East, the Giants, and we play them once every 4 years. So any intel you have on them really is so different compared to when we played them in 2018. Plus, you're playing them so late in the season. A perfect example is in the off season, I'll try to establish just some baseline information on the teams just to give me a little bit of a running start, no matter when we're playing a team. It's funny. You look at the Giants; they entered the season. Their top 4 guys on paper at wide receiver were Kenny Galladay, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kadarius Toney, and then Shepard. And 16 weeks later, Robinson and Shepard, they're sidelined by, I think, ACL injuries. Toney now plays for the Chiefs. He was a trade at the trade deadline, and then Galladay's basically benched. I mean, I don't think he has 4 catches on the season. He doesn't play at all. So now they got Slayton, They've got Richie James, and then Isaiah Hodgins. I mean, these are guys that are barely household names probably in New York City, let alone Indianapolis. And so, yeah, we just don't, at least me anyways, I don't watch a lot of Giants football because they're not on typically when, the Colts aren't playing. They don't play a lot of primetime games. So, yeah, it's a crash course to get up to speed on them. And then the Colts roster is ever-changing. You're seeing a lot of guys being elevated from the practice squad. So that's the challenge on a week-to-week basis, just to get to know these guys, 6 days between games and make it sound like, anyways, to the audience, like who these guys are all season long.
Is Eli still quarterback? I haven't kept up with it this year. Real quick before we let Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, go, I always like to try to make an impression on people, Jimmy, and I like to give good advice and good resolutions. Now let's see how much Matt listens to me. Believe it or not, I have a lot of pet peeves, and one of them involves play-by-play people. Matt, can you relate to the listeners my pet peeve that I have always passed upon to you and made sure you don't do this? Go ahead and tell them.
Well, I think you have two of them, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, let's hear it.
And I think one of them is your big pet peeve is the ball doesn't rest, right? So the ball's not resting at the 40-yard line.
Right.
Because the ball is not alive. It's an object.
It's not taking a break, correct.
Right. And then I think your other one is the Colts get a stop on 3rd and 5, and they don't force the Giants to punt.
Right.
The Giants have elected to punt.
Thank you. As we learned from Lane Kiffin, you're never forced to punt. They went for it on their own 9 last night, but I hate when and that pass is incomplete. The Broncos will be forced to punt. Who's forcing them? Are there some armed guards? Listen to me, mister. You're going to punt right now. No. And they'll go the field goal route, or they'll choose to punt, or they'll send on the punt team. That's fine with me. But you can listen to the bowl season, Jimmy and Ed. You'll hear this, and they'll be forced to punt. Who's forcing them?
That one I can get behind. The ball resting. I don't know that. It is a pet peeve for a reason, so I respect it. But
I didn't invent the ball resting at. I adopted that one, but the forced to punt was one that really irks me. And also, Matt, I like the way you go into a game and you like to bring something a little different. You like to have some. You're not going to say the same thing over and over again. So I'm excited to hear. I often have to leave these games. Like the other night, I had to leave at halftime to drive back to the studio. So I like to listen. And as you know, that's a huge responsibility because a lot of folks out there driving and with satellite radio now, not just in Indiana, people you are painting the word picture, and you do it beautifully, my friend.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's like that. I've been like a melting pot of like things I take from different guys, and I think what you're alluding to is like that Doc Emmerich, where you can watch a hockey game that he called, and there's going to be hundreds of passes of the puck in a hockey game, and they'll have 100 different words to describe a pass.
Right.
So I'm not on that level. I'm trying to get there. But yeah, I struggle with, how to describe a pass without saying the same thing over and over, like, fires or lasers or spins it or, spirals it, try to come up with different adjectives to describe things. Same thing with tackles.
I got a couple. Here's some, write these down and I'm going to listen. Say them this week. Say, he levels him. He levels him at the 12. He levels Barkley. And how about he spins one? He'll spin one over to Pittman, gain a 12.
Yes.
Give me a spin and a level. I'll be listening. I'll make you an extra burger on the grill if you throw one of those out there.
Matt,
believe it or not, I've actually done this exercise on plane rides to games where I'm just sitting there killing time. I'll get out a notepad and I'll just rack my brain with different ways to describe tackles and passes and try to incorporate those as best I can, for the following day.
Matt, you don't have to comment with this, but I just want the Colts' next quarterback to be good enough for you to be able to say he's in his bag. He's in his bag from Matt Taylor. That's what I want at some point in time.
What?
He's in his bag. He's going into his bag tonight.
Oh, well, I like it. I like that one.
I have no idea what that means, but I know it's time to say goodbye to Matt Taylor. They're giving us the wrap. Matt, always great to talk to you. If I don't see you, Happy New Year. And just remember, only 2 games left.
You got it, boys. Happy New Year to you. Appreciate you.
Matt Taylor, he was on the guest line brought to you by the Mower Shop in Fishers, themotorshop.com for all your snow blowers, commercial and residential mowers, plus service and power tools. We have to hit a break as Matt will now be getting intimately acquainted with the New York Giants. Hagan, Cook, Garrison, back with you after this.
It's the Colts VIP Tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Make your game day experience the best it can be. Log on and get your tickets now. It's bullseyeeventgroup.com.
A hero from Indiana is being honored at the Rose Parade on the Donate Life float. Mackenzie Licknam will be pictured on this year's float alongside other heroes from across the nation. When Mackenzie was born in 1990, doctors quickly determined his heart was not functioning properly. He was put on the transplant list at just 3 days old, and 10 days later, a donor heart became available. For the next 20 years, Mackenzie lived a normal life with his family, graduating from Carmel High School and attending Vincennes University. Mackenzie unexpectedly passed away at home in his sleep in 2011. Mackenzie became a tissue donor to heal the lives of others in need. His decision also inspired his sister Kelsey to choose a career where she works with families of donor heroes at Indiana Donor Network. Watch for the Donate Life float in the Rose Parade on January 2nd and celebrate Mackenzie and the more than 4 million Hoosiers who have signed up to be organ and tissue donors. Be like Mackenzie and say yes to organ and tissue donation. Learn more at donatelifeindiana.org.
Celebrate the new year with the ultimate timeless gift, a diamond from Diamonds Direct. Whether you're ready to pop the question or celebrating a lifetime of love, Diamonds Direct can make this New Year's one to remember forever. Now through New Year's Eve, Diamonds Direct has extended our special holiday financing offer, giving you one last chance to pick that perfect ring and spread your payments over 3 years with zero interest. That makes an $8,000 engagement ring less than $225 a month. And yes, this includes all our world-class designers like Tacori and Viraggio, the premier names in bridal jewelry. The holiday rush is over, but Diamonds Direct selection is spectacular with dazzling, rare, precious diamonds in all shapes and sizes. Go see for yourself and enjoy one last week to take advantage of their special holiday finance offer. 3 years, zero interest financing on anything and everything. Start the new year with some new excitement, new hope, and some new bling. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion. On approved credit.
This holiday season, DraftKings Sportsbook app is giving Indiana Pacers fans a special gift. Everyone can get a no-sweat bet on every Pacers game this December. Head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in under the promos tab, and place an eligible bet of your choice on a Pacers game. If it doesn't hit, you'll get your money back in a free bet. With payouts bigger than ever, DraftKings Sportsbook app is the place to go to bet on the NBA. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers can sign up with a promo code 1075FAN and get a no-sweat bet on every Pacers game this December. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and opt in today to receive this limited-time offer only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the Indiana Pacers. Must be 21 or older, Indiana only. Max reward limits apply. One free bet issued based on amount of initial losing bet. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
You had a solid retirement dream. Sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But inflation and recession has you wondering if all your hard-earned equity will still be there. What if you could recession-proof your equity right now? You can with TrueHold. TrueHold will buy your home for its best current value before a recession can erode it. You get to bank all the cash now and live in your home for as long as you want. And TrueHold covers all property taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. And since TrueHold pays your home's current value in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you'd like. Don't wait for inflation, recession, and interest rates to erode your home's value. Visit TrueHold.com and discover how much TrueHold will buy your home for today. Based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit TrueHold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without having to move. That's TrueHold.com.
Hi, this is Mark Chester from Marshall Mechanical. On behalf of Eric Marshall and our whole team at Marshall Mechanical, we would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you have a home heating emergency during the holidays, please feel free to give us a call at 317-738-5940 or find us online at callthemarshallnow.com.
Marshall Mechanical is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Hey, it's JMV for the absolute best in plumbing. That's Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing. 317-284-9526. Let's talk about 83 of free involving any drain in your home. Means LD Smith is going to come out, make sure your drains are clogged free for $83, or the visit is free. That's 83 or free at 317-284-9526. The best in plumbing. Lance and his local team online, ldsmithplumbing.com.
So I switched to Boost Mobile and got this free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone.
Why do you think they call it the Galaxy?
Maybe because the Samsung Galaxy A23 has a huge screen, and galaxies are huge gravitationally bound systems of stars rotating around a supermassive black hole.
And the phone is free?
When you switch to Boost Mobile.
Cool. You lost me at gravitationally bound.
Switch to Boost and get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power. Limited time offer while supplies last. New customers only. Excludes tax. One device offer per line. Only available on certain networks. 5G not available everywhere. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
The Pacers host the Cleveland Cavaliers this evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
.93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Matt Taylor was fun to talk to, but as always happens whenever me and May take it going, you had Chris Hagan in there as well. We went a little bit long, so we're going to close this segment rather quickly. Still to come, JP Shadrick of Jaguars.com and of Westwood One. Going to take some time with us, talk some Jaguars and big picture around the NFL, and then Nate Atkins of the Star is still good to go, correct, Eddie? Thumbs up on that. Nate Atkins of the Indy Star gives us final thoughts from the Colts side of things. We get closer and closer to Colts Giants. But JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com, Westwood One, joins the Fan Midday Show next.
There's only one company that meets the gold standard in hair restoration and hair transplants. We Grow Hair Indy. Hey, it's JMV, and I'm here with Darren Andrews. Darren, people are coming from all over the world to We Grow Hair Indy to grow their hair back.
Hi JMV, it's great to be here. Yes, they are. And JMV, as you know, we are very proud of the technology and the results at We Grow Hair Indy. We Grow Hair Indy is one of only 2 places in the entire US that offers both the Artist Robotic FUE and our trademark procedure, multi-unit hair grafting.
I was tired of my bald spot, which is why I went with multi-unit hair grafting and got more hair in one procedure. Call 888-724-5129 for a free evaluation. That's 888-724-5129, 888-724-5129, and grow your hair back. The one company that has the best technology and results. WeGrowHairIndy.com, the gold standard in hair restoration. Hey, it's JMV, and I have your New Year's Eve plans locked down with Yacht Rock Review coming to the Mural Old National Center. Ring in 2023 with these smooth and incredible sounds, and the party is on with Yacht Rock Review. Tickets starting under $25. Log on for Yacht Rock Review, livenation.com today.
Affinity Whole Health is the leader in testosterone and hormone replacement therapy. You'll improve your mental focus, drive, and the physical benefits are amazing. Go to feelgreatindy.com. See why patients rave about Affinity at feelgreatindy.com. That's feelgreatindy.com. Tavern Tour 22 brought to you by Evan Williams continues Thursday at Joe's Grill in Castleton. Join JMV this Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. Great vibes in Evan Williams. Joe's Grill in Castleton.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX Indianapolis.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan.
Turn it up.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, what's up? It's me, Chris Hagan, Fox 59. Filling in today on the what show, Jimmy?
The Fan Midday Show.
I can't remember that because I have a traumatic brain injury, but I'm having fun regardless of the name of the show. Now, Eddie, you're a slick guy. Now, did you play this song for any particular reason? See, this is how time is a flat circle. Everything always has a meaning.
You really didn't? Honestly? Okay. Then you're
Honestly, yeah.
Do you know why I'm pointing out this song?
Well,
why it's interesting that we're playing this song
I'm
right
not
now?
trying to undercut your story, perhaps, but I do know that JP is an alum of Alabama.
Well, let's take it a step further.
Okay.
JP, are you there?
I am here. Yes. Good afternoon.
JP's got the good pipes because he does he's a national guy. He does local stuff with the Jaguars which I'm sure they taught JP as soon as he got his first day on the job. JP Shadrick, let me explain this to you, Jimmy. Guess he's a proud graduate of the University of Alabama, but guess where he went to high school, Jimmy?
The same place you did.
Boom! That was the secret surprise, and the Easter egg. Hewitt-Trussville High School. I think JP's the second most famous alum behind Jay Barker, national championship quarterback. Did you go to? Was that before your time, JP?
It was, and I'm way down the list. I'm not even close. So you're way above me, I think.
I would agree with that. I would completely
agree. List. You know, I was there. I graduated in 2000. So do the math on that. I don't know.
There was a pitcher, I think class of 97. I forget who it was, but I think the number 1 overall pick in a major league draft was out of Hewitt-Trussville.
Jason Sanders was his name, and he played for the Rays system for a long time. Yeah, that's right. And then Brandon Cox was the Auburn quarterback. Right. He was a sophomore when I was a senior, and then since then they've had a few players roll through. Noah Igbenogany, a first-round pick with the Dolphins, is from there.
JP, stop, because every name you throw out there pushes me further down the list of distinguished alumni.
Don't forget about Brent Key, the new head coach at Georgia Tech.
See, great. Now I'm out of the top 10. What a disastrous phone call. You've got a unique career that you've got going, and we've never really talked in person, but one time you had posted on Twitter a Hewitt-Trussville HT logo, and I'm like, there's no way that logo exists somewhere else. And then we got in touch, and sure enough, the same high school. You've been doing some cool things with Westwood One. You were on that the call, the Dolphins and Packers. I mean, a meaningful game. An exciting game, and then some newsworthy things out of that game. Let's start with that before we talk about Jaguars. Let's start with the positive thing with Aaron Rodgers. And as you're doing that game, are you in shock and awe about how he has got this franchise back in the playoff mix and the way that team looked like they were dead in the water for the season and in that game, and somehow they came rocketing back?
You know, it always feels like when you have him, you have a chance. You're never really out of this thing, because when he says relax, everybody seems to kind of relax a little bit and play a little better football. And they certainly did that in the second half. Now, part of that game was, Tua started throwing interceptions. They might have played it a little different in the second half, but then Aaron Rodgers got his act together after struggling in the first half, misfiring on some balls, showing that frustration. Well, he just kept playing, and it's not like he threw 3 touchdowns or anything, but he played better in the second half and took advantage of those takeaways that his defense got off Tua. And, hey, you know what? They still need some help. They got to go win games, but they've got them both at home against dome teams coming to Lambeau the next 2 weeks. So it gives them a little bit of an advantage. If the weather is crappy, then, hey, they might have an even better shot against some of those teams that can throw it around, Minnesota, Detroit, coming in there. So, he's never out of it until he's officially out of it. When you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers back there, they're not used to losing games. They haven't lost a December game since 2018. Think about that, right? So they always come to play when it matters, and it certainly matters right now for the Packers.
JP, on the other side of that coin and that matchup, the Dolphins very much still alive in the playoff race, but again, Teddy Bridgewater now under center with Tua back in the concussion protocol. When you look at the Dolphins rather, and the Jaguars right there in the hunt as well, but mainly for the South, not so much the wild card. You look at the Dolphins and their state of affairs. How did you feel about their flow against Green Bay? And is this a team, as you look at their final couple of games, New England upcoming, can they get over the line without Tua, with how explosive that offense is?
Yeah, it's tough, right? I mean, it's a totally different feel than what we were just talking about with the Packers, right? I mean, they look great in the first half. I mean, Tua's hitting guys in stride, Waddle's catching and running down the sideline, he's hitting Tyreek on a deep ball. Okay, that's great. And then the second half, the fumble happened right before halftime. It turned the whole game around. And then we come to find out later, we didn't see it in the stadium, and I don't even think they showed it on replay on the Fox broadcast, where he might have hit his head on the back of his head on the field to get in the concussion protocol on Monday. But he plays the whole second half, all of a sudden starts throwing interceptions, a little high. Who knows if that's really what came of that, but either way, it happened. And he's throwing picks all over the field. Now, moving ahead, is he going to be back for Week 18 is another big question, right? because there was that record earlier in the season that they were undefeated when he finished a game. Well, he didn't. He's not going to be out there this week. Can Teddy step up and play? That's a tough environment in New England to play, and New England's up against it too. By the way, they need the game. That's a big football game. But when it comes down to it, I think they come back down and take care of business against the Jets in Week 18. That's a Jets team that's really scuffling right now. They've got a good defense, but the offense leaves a lot to be desired. Jags saw them on Thursday night last week. So if Tua's back in there, they've got the best shot, obviously. All they got to do is win a game. If they win one of the next two, they're in, and maybe they stamp this losing skid and figure it out because they don't have much more than that, though. They've got the passing game, the two receivers. That's about all they have to offer. There's not a whole lot more down in Miami to hang their hat on offensively. So if Tua's not there, that could spell some trouble for them.
Talking with JP Shadrick, he was on the call for the Dolphins and Packers game. Now, JP, you don't have to tell me the truth here, but when Waddle is scoring a touchdown and Tua's making a pass, do you hit the cough button and go, "Roll Tide," and then turn the cough button back off?
Those days are long gone. No more of that. Until they start sending jewelry in the mail to me, then no. I mean, I don't get any of that stuff. So that's long gone. And but hey, there's guys everywhere for a reason.
Yep.
There's some good football players that come out of there.
And it's funny, like I'm up here in Indiana now. I grew up in Alabama, but you'll always see that there's always an Alabama A, somebody that's never been to Tuscaloosa or maybe doesn't know that the university is in Tuscaloosa. But you win that much, you're that successful, you're going to have some bandwagon fans. Interesting, you talk about, this will be my smooth segue into talking about the Jaguars. We're looking at a year, we could have Tampa, Miami, and Jacksonville, all three Florida teams in the playoffs. I don't do research. I don't know if that's unprecedented, but early on in the season, did you foresee a possibility of the Jags maybe moving up and getting hot and perhaps the Titans having some struggles? Can you believe that we're in this situation now where here the Jags are in the driver's seat in the AFC South?
Well, I think a lot of folks were kind of tempering their expectations around here this season with the new head coach, second-year quarterback, everything that had gone on in the offseason. How do they figure this thing out? What's it really going to look and feel like in year one of this whole thing? And to be honest with you, at the end of October, it was like, okay, they're done. They're going to Cancun in January. Forget about it. No way here, right? I mean, they had lost 5 in a row. They're losing fourth-quarter leads, and the quarterback's throwing interceptions all over the place and fumbling the football. It just was not clean. And then the London game happened, where the Jaguars lost to the Broncos, and Trevor Lawrence threw 2 interceptions in that game. One of those an inexplicable first and goal at the 1 into triple coverage. And it's like, what are we doing here? And that really kind of turned the light bulb on for him that, you know what, I'm killing this football team right now. And he put it on himself to maybe come in a little earlier, a little longer work, maybe just dedicate himself a little bit more to it. And he expected a little bit more out of his teammates, too. He kind of stepped up in a leadership role in that regard, too. Yeah, it's me throwing picks, but we got to run not an 8-yard route, a 10-yard route here. And that communication, that open line of communication with the football team and the quarterback really turned things quickly. And since that point, he's been fantastic. So I think they are beyond expectations this season right now at the record they are at. They haven't had a winning season here since, of course, 2017. When they went to the playoffs. So that's the next step. This group really wants to have that winning record at the end of this regular season, 9-8. So they got to win the next 2. Obviously, they'd be the AFC South champions if that happens. But they just want to finish what they've started and what they've figured out. And I think that's more the big picture. They have figured out now, okay, we can win games different ways. It'd be better if they could be up 3 scores and not have to rally to do it. But, hey, they'll take it any way they can get it right now. They just got to keep this ball rolling.
Looking for some payback this week in Houston. And I can tell you, I won't give you all the details, but I'll let you fill in the blanks. I was in Vegas when the Texans won at Jacksonville, and I was very upset. I'll let you figure out why. But that was a disastrous pick that he threw going into the end zone. Lawrence throws that pick, and I'm going to calm myself down, Jimmy. I'll let you ask the next question because I'm still heated thinking about what happened. Go ahead, Jimmy.
JP, for you, covering this Jaguars team, and you've been kind enough to come on the program over the years, and we appreciate always your coverage of the Jags. When you look at where this team has been this season, the Colts, I feel like fans should be a little bit more worried. I'm sure the front office of the Colts is aware as well, but the type of a leap that many were expecting Trevor Lawrence to have, it looked like early on in the season it might not be there, particularly over these last couple of weeks, though. He's really started to put in the numbers that was kind of expected out of him right out of college. It's very hard to do at this level, but how much has he and just the weapons of Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, Travis Etienne, to name a few, been for this Jaguars team over this stretch as they're back suddenly in the playoff picture?
Yeah, like I said, it starts with the quarterback, but you mentioned a couple of those names there that certainly help out in that regard. It's Christian Kirk, who they paid through the nose in free agency to get. He's played well. Zay Jones has stepped up, also a free agent addition. Evan Ingram, the tight end, the last 3 weeks or so has really played big. All three of those guys are at career highs in yardage for a season already with 2 weeks to go. And they're only going to keep building, and I think the last 2 weeks and move it on into the postseason. Travis Etienne's over 1,000 yards on the ground. That's why they're the number 6 offense in the NFL right now, which is pretty amazing to think about. So all that combined is part of that just building chemistry, communication. It's all new, right? I mean, Trevor's in his second year, but all those guys are new to the organization. They spent the whole offseason trying to figure that out, but you really have to go play games together, and middle of the season is when it really the light started to turn on in a lot of regards. And it's not the same guy every week. There's some ego for every NFL player. I get that, but it's not a diva wide receiver room. So if one guy has 120 yards 1 week and 2 touchdowns, the other guys are happy to block for it downfield the next week because they know they're going to get theirs, and they've kind of rotated that around this year. And that's really been the great thing to see is the development of those 3, 4, 5 guys together with the quarterback. Hey, this is the start of something. It could be around for a long time, sorry to say, at Indy, because the Jags aren't going anywhere anytime soon with a lot of these players.
I was talking with Jeff Saturday after he took over as interim head coach here, and they had some setbacks, to say the least. And it was about, when he played here for the Colts, they always just expected to win. Regardless of the score, they felt like they were going to win. And sometimes you can kind of see the Colts here, you're waiting to see what's going to happen to make them lose. What was it that flipped now? Because when I see this Jaguar team, regardless of the situation or where they're playing, it seems like they now expect to win, whereas they were finding ways to lose. And once you get that ball rolling downhill, sometimes it just keeps on storming down. Can you sense that now with this squad where they feel like, hey, we have our destiny, we're going to win, and we fully expect to win?
I mean, I guess there's a little of that. I'm still a little cautious with some of that because it is still not even through one full year with this whole crew, right? And it is the same year that they've lost all those one-score leads in the fourth quarter and and couldn't finish those games early. Maybe they figured out a little something, but in the grand scheme of things, let's tap the brakes a little bit. They've been good for about a month and a half, right? I mean, it's not like they've been good for 7 years, so they're not quite to that point yet. And I think that's why Doug Peterson's taken the approach this week of, hey, we've got to play. Like, Titans might be sitting guys or whatever they have to do on a short week to get ready for Week 18. Well, from the Jaguars' perspective, they haven't clinched anything yet. And they've got to go learn to win a game like this in Houston this week against a team you're really supposed to beat and in this pinch that you need to go win it. And just, in theory, they don't have to win it, right? Because Week 18 matters no matter what happens this week in terms of the division. There is still the wild card at play, a long shot, but it's still out there. And then all of a sudden, if you get a tie one of these weeks, you just need to go play the game. So that's why Doug Peterson, I think, has that mindset still. Hey, unless you're really hurt, you're going out to play. Now, I'm curious if it's like third quarter, fourth quarter, and you're up by 3 scores. Do you give some more, carries to JaMychal Hasty instead of Etienne, or do they adjust that as the game goes along? But going into it, they've got to figure out and at least, teach this team to have that killer instinct when they're up against it in a playoff race.
JP Shadrick of Jaguars.com, as well as broadcaster of college football for Westwood One Sports. Nice enough to take some time with us on the Mower Shop and Fishers hotline and mowershop.com for all your residential commercial mowers, as well as snow blowers, power tools, and equipment, and so much more. They've got you covered at the Mower Shop and Fishers and the mowershop.com. JP, switching to the Colts for a second, by extension with your college football coverage that you're involved with. Colts are in that same boat the Jaguars have been in the past, which is they're in need of a quarterback, and there's a high chance the Colts make that selection of quarterback in the first round of this year's draft. Let's take, just for the sake of argument, Young off of the board, of Stroud, of Levis, of Richardson, to name a few. Have you seen any of them or been able to call any of their action on Westwood One this year? And if not, what is your overall takeaway from afar as you look at those three quarterbacks, or any other maybe quarterbacks I didn't mention there that you see as options for success the next level?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I didn't have Alabama this year. I had them on a different network in years past, including the Iron Bowl last season when he rallied down the field with no timeouts in Auburn and got the big throw to the freshman for a touchdown, and then the overtimes and everything. And we've seen that time and time again with Bryce Young, that he has that ability late in the game to rally a team and get it down. He can make all the throws. He's a little slight, let's say. I think that's the nice word. He's not a huge guy. Like, he's 6'1", but he's doesn't have a lot of meat on the bones, right? So can he handle the heat? Can he handle the pressure? Can he handle the hits? And it's not like he's a true running style quarterback either. So that's a question, at least for me. Then I had C.J. Stroud a couple times. I had him last year when he threw 6 touchdowns against Michigan State. And, of course, this year against Michigan when they were just kind of handled. The Michigan team handled them, I think, in the second half of that game. But I like Stroud. I mean, he's a bigger option there, just to name those two. So, I think it's about time that the Colts did not have a draft pick quarterback that works out. I know the last little while they've tried different veterans there, and maybe they've worked or not, whatever. They've had a lot of success there over the years, and maybe it's time to just end that run right now, the quarterback.
As a lifelong Mississippi State fan, I think the way to go is Will Rogers. I think he is. No, I'm kidding. Hey, JP, when was? It's nice to be around the country now, and you see the Milo sweet tea in all the grocery stores. I have to wonder though, when was the last time you enjoyed yourself a actual Milo's burger in the Birmingham vicinity?
With that sauce all over it.
Oh, my gosh.
It's probably 1999. It's probably been that long.
Oh. You know what?
Yeah,
next time I'm home to see my mom and brothers, I'm going to have to figure out a way to ship you some Milo sauce, because people just think it's just a company that makes tea. But no, it started as a little hamburger joint. Strictly in the Birmingham area. I think they built one at one point. They had one in Mobile and one maybe in Tuscaloosa. But now they're just they don't go anywhere else. They know what they're doing, and it's good, and it's good for you. JP, we love your work. I'm proud to have you as a Hewitt Trustful alumni, and we'll have to get the Mel Kiper's big board to see where you and I line up on the draft status of notable alumni. But you're doing a heck of a job, and it's always good to catch up with you.
Hey, same to you, man, and appreciate the time as always. And yeah, we'll planning on being up there for the combine, so we'll get together during combine time this year.
All right, make sure you get approved for a little bit extra on the expense report for dinner before you come up.
I know how to kind of massage it, I think.
Nice. All right, JP, we'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks,
Happy
JP.
New Year.
Thank you too, guys. Thank you.
JP Shadrick. I was so proud of being an alumni. Then he starts listing off all these alumni better than me. Jimmy, that's not how you do it.
You gotta butter up the hosts a little bit. I mean, come on.
You went to a great high school, same high school as Matt Taylor, so it's high school day. Eddie, find somebody from your high school we can get on the phone and talk about it. Where'd you go to high school?
Decatur Central.
Oh, plenty of folks.
I got all the Tracys.
Yeah. Didn't that quarterback that went to Penn State? What's his name?
Tommy Stevens.
He transferred to Mississippi State.
Correct.
And I think his agent is Buddy Baker. So maybe we could make that happen. We could have the trifecta on the name of the show again. What's the show called?
The Fan Midday Show.
The Fan Midday Show. It's be proud of your high school team and colors. If I went to break now, is this better? Am I doing things better? Are we not going over? Are we all right?
You've been doing things great before. You're doing things great now.
You know what? When you're in here by yourself and try to do the show, like I don't know how JMV does it, just sit here and talk to yourself. It's so hard. But now I look down here, we're less than an hour left in this thing. We've been cooking right along, no pun intended. Jimmy, send it to break.
We're back after this. We'll have a conversation with Nate Atkins of the Indy Star. More on the Colts as they prepare to try to play the role of spoiler. Giants looking to clinch a playoff berth. Jimmy Cook and Chris Hagan on the Fan Midday Show. Nate Atkins of the Star next.
Hi, it's Steve Mann. Have you heard the commercials for the Mark Patrick Stop Smoking seminars? And they said only $49.99 and it could work for you. So I thought, that's not even a week's worth of smoking. So I went. And guess what? It did work for me. You know, my friends and family are still amazed. I quit smoking. I didn't have cravings, anxiety, or weight gain. Listen, I don't know how it works, but I know it works because I'm living proof, and it's 100% guaranteed. So what do you got to lose? I'll tell you what you got to lose. A very bad habit.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and stop smoking without cravings, irritability, or weight gain. Only $49.99 guaranteed. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all or your money back. Seminars are 8 p.m. on Thursday, January 19th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville, or 2 p.m. on Saturday, January 21st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Registration is 30 minutes before the seminar. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
You had a solid retirement dream. Sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But inflation and recession has you wondering if all your hard-earned equity will still be there. What if you could recession-proof your equity right now? You can with Truehold. Truehold will buy your home for its best current value before a recession can erode it. You get to bank all the cash now and live in your home for as long as you want. And Truehold covers all property taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. And since Truehold pays your home's current value in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you'd like. Don't wait for inflation, recession, and interest rates to erode your home's value. Visit Truehold.com and discover how much Truehold will buy your home for today, based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without having to move. That's Truehold.com.
You wouldn't leave your health to chance. Doesn't your financial well-being deserve the same care and attention? It's time to get a complimentary wealth checkup from Edelman Financial Engines. We're Barron's #1 rated independent financial advisory firm 5 years running. So you can be confident you're getting integrated wealth management advice, including tax planning, estate planning, insurance, and more from an experienced and trusted investment advisory firm. Take advantage of a complimentary wealth checkup with a planner who puts your needs first. There's no sales pressure and no obligation. Just trusted guidance to help get your investment goals back into focus. When it comes to your financial well-being, you can count on the top-rated independent financial advisory firm in the nation. Visit Edelman Financial Engines at EFEWealthPlanners.com. That's EFEWealthPlanners.com. Barron's rating awarded annually each September 2018 through 2022. Compensation paid for distribution of rating.
Merry Christmas, everyone. This is Dave Majing with B&W Plumbing and Heating. We all know Santa doesn't fix furnaces, but B&W Plumbing and Heating does. We're here to be sure you have a warm and enjoyable Christmas. Check us out at BigBlackTrucks.com or call us at 317-243-3581. That's 317-243-3581. And from our family to yours, Merry Christmas, everyone. And remember the reason for the season.
B&W is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
A new season, a new QB, a new look. Football is back. And so are Bud Light Blue Fridays. Every week, join JMV beginning at 3 for Cold Bud Lights, Colts football talk, and your chance to win tickets to Colts games.
Hey, JMV, join me Friday at Manley's Irish Mutt, 10th and Shadeland for your chance at Texans tickets.
JMV, Bud Light, and you. Doing it for the shoe.
This Friday at Manley's Irish Mutt at 10th and Shadeland.
Dan Dockage for Affinity Whole Health. Affinity is the leader in testosterone and hormone replacement therapy, and I got to tell you, I see why. Since I started a testosterone replacement program with Affinity, my energy, mental focus, drive, everything is up, and the physical benefits are amazing. Check them out at feelgreatindy.com. Guys, you can improve the way you look, the way you feel. You can build muscle and lose fat. Affinity will give you the roadmap.
Go to feelgreatindy.com. That's feelgreatindy.com.
Be ready for snow at the Mower Shop in Fishers with a gas or electric Toro snowblower and prepare for mowing season with discounts on select Spartan mowers. 317-849-9500 and themowershop.com.
The Pacers are flying higher than Donner and Blitzen.
All the way to the hoop.
And Rick Carlisle has a big bag of tricks.
And slams it with two hands.
Bigger than Old St. Nick's.
Step back for three.
With players young enough to still believe in Santa. Follow the Pacers through the holidays and into the new year.
Marching down the lane and slams it with two hands.
On your home of the Pacers.
To the goal and he lays it in.
93.5 and 107.5.
Field hits a three.
The Fan.
I look at you and my blood boils hot. I feel my temperature rise.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, it's Chris Hagan back here with you on
The Fan Midday Show.
That's Jimmy Cook. It's Eddie Garrison behind the boards. Playing another song that means a lot to me. That's Kiss. First concert, and yes, the second concert. First two concerts I ever went to. Kiss. And I was scared of Gene Simmons when I saw him in person, and he blew fire, and he had like these, he would spit blood. And I was like, Dad, thanks for the good tickets, but these may be a little too close. I was like 9 years old. But I'm okay now. We've had a great show, I think, and we're going to finish up strong. What do we got coming up in this last half hour?
We got Nate Atkins of the Indianapolis Star going to continue to set the tables. We get closer to Colts Giants. Colts right now trying to play the role of spoiler. And then, of course, we will hand out some bets to get folks into the penultimate Fan Midday Show in terms of 2022 action.
I'm going to have to look up what penultimate means.
Second to last.
But I think... I was kidding, Jimmy. I know what it means.
Come on.
Don't ruin my bit about acting like I'm dumb. Now, do we hit a break and then we come back with the interview? Or
no, we're getting him right now, I think.
So we're perfect.
Yes, timing is
See, I like
impeccable.
how things work out. And if you do gamble, please gamble responsibly. Like that, they always say, like, if you have a gambling problem, call this number. I always want to call and go, yeah, I can't figure out the third team I should put in this parlay. But they don't answer questions.
You know
like
how hard it is trying to, because I know the number, but I know it because it's a copy read. But the joke amongst my friends is, oh yeah, because you're using it all the time, right? Yeah. But
you call, hey, I got a question. Should I hit this 12 against a 2? I'm sitting right here. All right, Jimmy, why don't you tee this ball up here for our final guest?
To us next via the Mower Shop and Fishers hotline, themowershop.com. Nate Atkins, beat writer, covering the Indianapolis Colts for the Indianapolis Star, as well as on the Cover 2 podcast with Joel A. Erickson, fellow beat writer over there at the Star. Nate, how are you doing on a Thursday?
I'm doing great, man. Just getting through the rest of this week, and hopefully travel's okay to New York this week with how crazy flights are right now. But I'm looking forward to it.
You flying or are you driving?
I am flying. Yep. Luckily not Southwest.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I got a trip next week planned, and we're in the Southwest boat. So fingers crossed there, but safe travels to you all the same. Nate, we've talked to you about this a number of times throughout the season, but in particular now the playoffs are off the table. Colts forced to play the role of spoiler. Nick Foles showed what a quarterback looks like without a lot of first-team reps, left a lot to be desired, and that's being kind against the Chargers. What's been the mood this week as you've kind of probed around and had different player meetings as well as regular conferences with Jeff Saturday and company, as they are basically now just a spoiler trying to get through the final 2 weeks of the season?
Yeah, they're really playing out the stretch right now, and I don't even so much feel the spoiler attitude. I haven't gotten the sense that that's really inspiring guys, because it's just so far removed from the position any of them, wanted to be in, expected to be in this season. It's just very weird times right now because so much is up in the air with the franchise, the direction of it, who the head coach is going to be, potentially who the general manager is going to be, even though obviously Jim Irsay has come out and said it will be Chris Ballard, but things are always kind of up in the air for guys here right now. So I just think a lot of players are looking at, they like to win the game. Obviously, you put in work throughout the week. You want to be rewarded with a win, so they will try to do that. But I still think it's more, guys are finding their own ways to kind of motivate through a very tough stretch right now when there isn't something on the line and there's not clear roles to carve out for this team. So, you've got upcoming free agents, guys like Bobby Okereke, Paris Campbell, and Yannick Ngakoue, Chase McLaughlin. Those are guys that, this really matters for them to try and find a home, whether it's here or somewhere else. And then you have young players, a lot of rookies still engaged. Talked to Jelani Woods and Alec Pierce and Rodney Thomas. Those guys, they're trying to get better and try and get their careers moving. But really, everything is about just sort of development and resumes right now, and trying to find staying power beyond this year, because they're all kind of dealing with the fact and the disappointing fact that this season has not gone like any of them thought it would.
Hey, Nate, it's Chris Hagan from Fox 59, and I was going to point this out, too, that's so strange, is that even though they didn't make the playoffs last year, those last two games carried meaning. Win and you're in, win and you're in. There was drama, there was excitement, and this year with 2 games to play, the Colts are one of just 8 teams that have been eliminated. So, and the limbo of the head coaching situation. Yeah, they've said Ballard's back, but who knows? So much up in the air. So this is truly a time in the ultimate team game when really you could make a case that guys are just playing for themselves right now. It's all about me, my resume, my tape, and getting better. And that's a strange way to be, particularly when you're playing football at this level.
No doubt about it. That's exactly how it feels. And, I try to be careful because I don't want to paint any of these guys as being selfish as if they weren't for the team. They went a long time this year where they kept in that mindset. In fact, sometimes I wondered, I was surprised it didn't splinter earlier in the year when, the results weren't going their way and there was a lot of craziness. But they really, really tried to keep it together for as long as they had those hopes. But at some point, reality became reality for them. And not just with the results of the game, but you can see too much writing on the wall. When you bench Matt Ryan for Sam Ellinger, they brought Matt Ryan back, but then at some point, this past week they benched him for Nick Foles, and these guys know. They know. There's a line that Chris Ballard's used. You can't BS the locker room, which is about. These guys know who's give them the best chance to win, and they know. They know what they're up against, and just at some point, this offense, especially once they're down. I guess it's a net of 2 coaches when they bring in Jeff Saturday, but certainly the guy down 3 coaches. If you think about Frank Reich designing this offense for them, they're just very short-staffed. They haven't had the offensive line that they've wanted, and Jonathan Taylor's on IR, and then they're going to a quarterback who was a third stringer a couple weeks ago. At some point, you do have to kind of just, they say all the time, control what you can control. If you're going to tie yourself just to the results of this product, you're going to go insane right now because it's just not built to have success at the moment. So guys have to kind of look inward and just find how can they develop, and really the closest thing to team element here is delivering for the guys around you and helping them be in a position to maybe reach some of their goals or continue their development. But it's very much become a team of guys just looking out for themselves in a business aspect, because that's just what's natural when the franchise has put them in a position where winning really isn't even a chance for them. Against a team like the Chargers, I just never felt like they had a chance. I personally don't think they have a chance this week against the Giants, and it's just because of kind of the situation that this offense is under in a league where offense wins, and that's the reality they're playing through.
You talk about maybe some cracks in the facade there, saying all the right things, and Zaire Franklin is a dog. He's a warrior. He's a man. Whatever you want to call him, he's a captain. He cares. He leads the team in tackles. He's really stepped up when being called upon. And even he had said after that game, I don't know if you were in that scrum, but he had said, got to take care of the ball. He had not blatantly called out the offense, but you could sense a little frustration when you think about how many games the Colts have played well enough to win on defense. But even they say, the players know. They know that this offense has held this team back for the majority of the season.
Yeah, you think about it, everything that we talk about, all week long, everything that fans talk about on Twitter, these guys are living it every single moment of the day, and their futures are tied to it. So, and they know football more than all of us. So they know exactly what the state of this team is. And for a long time, early in the season, there was some understanding of, new offense with a new quarterback. They've been through this of starting slow. Back then they were able to kind of lean on Frank Reich's track record and just the reality that it does take a little bit of time to put this together. But So for a long time, I really give the defense credit for the leaders in that locker room, like Zaire, like Bobby Okereke, DeForest Buckner, Stephon Gilmore. They've said all the right things all season long, trying to give this offense some confidence and not not beating them up when they haven't delivered. But at some point, like they were all realized that this is what it is. Like the offensive line never got dramatically better. The passing game never got clean and explosive, and it never came together because it all kind of splintered apart. And so there is this feeling now where the defense is going out there and they're trying to play well for what we were just talking about, for how they look, their resumes, their staying power in the league, for each other on that unit. That's all there. But they don't feel like they have any chance to turn this around, because right now, even if they force turnovers, which is hard when you're trailing a lot, even if they force turnovers, if they're not taking it all the way back for a touchdown, there's just no faith that they're going to score, because the guys on offense don't have faith that they're going to score. I've covered 3 teams, and I've never been around a unit that believes so little in itself as this Colts offense right now. And those are the guys that practice with the defense every single day, share a locker room. So they feel all of this, and it's gotten very difficult to motivate as a team when everything, all the doubt on the outside. For the longest time, they channel that doubt as sort of a motivator. At some point, I think they started to believe that doubt is who they are, and that's a hard thing to work through.
Nate Atkins, nice enough to take some time with us on the Motor Shop and Fishers hotline and themotorshop.com, the Colts beat reporter for the Indianapolis Star, as well on the Cover 2 podcast on the Indy Stars podcast network. Nate, when this season eventually does come to a close here in 2 weeks, you and Joel have both been reporting on this, on Jim Irsay's comments that Chris Ballard's likely to be back at some point. You have to take what the owner is saying, some say with a grain of salt, but other times you keep saying it, you got to take it as truth. How quickly, once this season ends, do you anticipate moves being finalized for this franchise? I'm talking about maybe not a public reaffirmance of Chris Ballard, but in terms of this coaching search, how quickly do you expect these pieces to line into place as the Colts work through their offseason checklist?
I think they'll take a decent amount of time before anything's official. They're very aware of they're aware enough of the situation with where Jeff Saturday is going to interview, but they have to make it a search. They have to interview, minority candidates for one to meet the Rooney Rule, and they want to try and look like they're giving the chances to everybody. And so, it also depends on who they're after. There's certain guys, if they're in the Jim Harbaugh hunt, they're not the only team that's going to be interested in him. So there's a little bit of process they'll let play out, but really, I think quite how fast it comes together will ultimately come down to if Jeff Saturday is going to remain the coach. If Jim Irsay is headstrong on that, and that's ultimately the guy he wants to go with, I think that you would think that would come, earlier than later. If it's not, then they'll try to go another direction. But right now, it's just a little bit hard. There's a few teams out there, Carolina, Denver, are looking for coaches. There's a couple others that could, like maybe Arizona, maybe the Raiders. So they're kind of in a derby of teams that are going to try to appeal to the coaches available. And right now, they're just going to have to see what their options are. If they do want to go with one of the top candidates, they're not the only team going after them. And right now, they're going to have to do a lot of selling, because it's just been a hard couple of months of owner stepping in and being so involved in the biggest decisions of a franchise and kind of throwing a lot up into the air, especially when you also need a quarterback. So selling the right coach on that can be a challenge. But if they are keeping Chris Ballard, obviously that can speed it up, because you're not searching for a GM. And he's been, they fired Frank Reich, several weeks ago, so he's been compiling candidates he'd like to interview and come through with on this. But it's all a guessing game, because it all comes down to what Jim Irsay ultimately wants to do. He runs this ship. He's been running this season in ways that I've never really seen an owner do. And he ultimately, unless he just relinquishes that and gives it right back to Chris Ballard, I think that's probably what you should expect to happen with the coaching search, which means it could be a quick hire just Saturday, or it could go in a direction that kind of none of us are even expecting.
Nate, last question for you before we let you go. Obviously, I'm having you speculate a little bit here, but when you look at the tumultuous seasons for a number of different teams around the NFL, a lot of Colts fans still have scar tissue from the last 2 to 3 retread quarterbacks that have been thrown through here. Is there still a sense of wariness on your beat that with guys like Derek Carr getting benched, Aaron Rodgers' name getting thrown around, that the Colts might try to explore yet again a patchwork move this offseason?
I think they will look to explore a bridge quarterback, but I don't expect there to be a move where you bring in a guy like Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz or Phillip Rivers to be the starter and just move on with that. I think they have to go to the draft. And part of that's the fact that they put it off for so long. Jim Irsay has kind of made it clear he's ready to be off that carousel and at least try to build something with a young option who could be long-term. But also, I just think they're in a tough spot to sell themselves to a veteran quarterback. You think last spring they were able to get Matt Ryan to request a trade from the Falcons to the Colts because they sold themselves as sort of this up-and-coming team with a talented roster, with stable leadership, with a coach that has a long track record of working with quarterbacks. And Matt Ryan, if he doesn't believe in what they're saying, would not have requested that, and he would have stayed with the Falcons. That's the spot they're going to get into with guys like, if they were even interested in Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers. Quarterbacks hold the keys in all these decisions. And so specifically with a guy like Derek Carr, who I'm writing about today, he's coming off of a franchise with the Raiders where they've done everything to chase him away. They've been dysfunctional, and he's trying to get whatever feels like the furthest thing from that. The Colts have a very tough task to sell anybody on that, not just with how their season's gone, but the fact that both Matt Ryan and Nick Foles came in here under certain promises that they were not given as far as how long they'd play, what their roles would be. Those were guys with options who really believed in Frank Reich and Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay, and then the promises didn't come. So I think too much damage has been done right now. They have to clean up from this over the course of several years, I think. And the only way to really do that is to move on with a rookie, develop him, make him work. And obviously for them, they hope they're not even in that spot for many years. But the next time that they are, if they have to look the veteran route, they need to be more in the position they were in this past spring, where they look like a destination rather than a place that's just kind of guessing at the position.
Nate, always appreciate your work. Power through, continue with these 2 weeks. Looking forward to reading your coverage, and thanks as always for making some time.
Of course. Appreciate you having me.
That is Nate Atkins, Colts beat writer of the Indy Star, as well as co-host of the Cover 2 podcast on the Star Podcast Network.
It sounds like maybe somebody didn't use their turn signal correctly. There was a horn being honked.
Sounds like a train.
Don't ruin my story. It was a car horn. I'm going car horn. What are you going with?
I think it was a fire truck that had the sirens on.
You guys
that was honking
are
through
worthless.
the traffic lanes.
This is why people are so bad when they're witnesses to a crime. We heard 3 different things.
We play that tape back. I think I'm right.
But we did hear
I feel
a horn.
pretty confident.
What do you think about Gardner Minshew coming in? If you draft a young quarterback, you get Minshew. He's a stopgap guy. You could have him. You could start the season with him first 2, 3, 4 games, and if you got a rookie, if you got him ready, Minshew's shown he can be the guy. But Gardner may be thinking he can go somewhere and be a starter somewhere. I don't know your thoughts on him if they were to bring him in.
I've never minded Gardner Minshew. I think he's been a great quarterback in spurts and hasn't really necessarily had a full fair shake at it. But in terms of bridge gap options, I agree. I'm not going to go against you.
Finally, you're going to stop going against me. This is our last break of the day, Eddie.
Yep.
Don't get teary-eyed out there because they have a show tomorrow. But this is the last segment coming up. You'll get to have me. And if you want to call in and tell me how terrible I am or give me your New Year's resolution, you can do that. It's 239-1070, 239-1070. Eddie, Jimmy, Hagan. We're back after this on the
Fan Midday Show.
It's the Colts VIP Tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Make your game day experience the best it can be. Log on and get your tickets now. It's bullseyeeventgroup.com.
A hero from Indiana is being honored at the Rose Parade on the Donate Life float. Mackenzie Licknam will be pictured on this year's float alongside other heroes from across the nation. When Mackenzie was born in 1990, doctors quickly determined his heart was not functioning properly. He was put on the transplant list at just 3 days old, and 10 days later, a donor heart became available. For the next 20 years, Mackenzie lived a normal life with his family, graduating from Carmel High School and attending Vincennes University. McKenzie unexpectedly passed away at home in his sleep in 2011. McKenzie became a tissue donor to heal the lives of others in need. His decision also inspired his sister Kelsey to choose a career where she works with families of donor heroes at Indiana Donor Network. Watch for the Donate Life float in the Rose Parade on January 2nd and celebrate McKenzie and the more than 4 million Hoosiers who have signed up to be organ and tissue donors. Be like McKenzie and say yes to organ and tissue donation. Learn more at donatelifeindiana.org.
Here's what's happening with the Fan.
Catch another Bud Light Blue Friday with JMB 3 to 6 at Manly's Irish Mutt. Enter the football toss and you could be the next fan to win a pair of tickets to see the Colts take on the Texans. Think you have the best sports trivia knowledge? Listen to Kevin and Query from 7 to 10 a.m. and call into the pop quiz for your chance to win a signature Jiffy Lube oil service. And tune into the ride with JMV from 3 to 6 this week. You could win 2 tickets to see Leonard Skinner and ZZ Top on Sunday, August 20th at Ruoff Music Center.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code ESPN10 for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's code ESPN10. Use code ESPN10 for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
How about this for the perfect holiday gift? Get moving again, pain-free. You can do that via QC Kinetics. They are the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine, taking unique protocols that use healing agents from your own body to target aching joints, repairing and restoring damaged tissue so you can move again with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. Got shoulder pain, excruciating hip pain? You have any arthritis or lingering pain from an injury? Don't let them operate on you or give you more steroids. You call QC Kinetics with locations in Eagle Creek and Greenwood and get a free consultation today. This is the future of joint pain management, and appointments are available as soon as the next week. So make 2023 the year you say goodbye to joint pain. Call QC Kinetics. That's 317-559-PAIN in Eagle Creek and Greenwood. Give QC Kinetics a call today. 317-559-PAIN.
Celebrate the new year with the ultimate timeless gift, a diamond from Diamonds Direct. Whether you're ready to pop the question or celebrating a lifetime of love, Diamonds Direct can make this New Year's one to remember forever. Now through New Year's Eve, Diamonds Direct has extended our special holiday financing offer, giving you one last chance to pick that perfect ring and spread your payments over 3 years with zero interest. That makes an $8,000 engagement ring less than $225 a month. And yes, this includes all our world-class designers like Tacori and Viraggio, the premier names in bridal jewelry. The holiday rush is over, but Diamonds Direct's selection is spectacular with dazzling rare precious diamonds in all shapes and sizes. Go see for yourself and enjoy one last week to take advantage of their special holiday finance offer. 3 years, zero interest financing on anything and everything. Start the new year with some new excitement, new hope, and some new bling. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion. On approved credit.
It's game time.
Oh, ho, ho, ho! Jackson went up with one hand and sledgehammered it down.
The popcorn is popped. The fire is lit. 'Tis the season of balling at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, where all month long we'll be dashing through the lane and delivering holiday cheer.
And it's over! Nemhard beat the clock!
Tip off the new year by celebrating with the blue and gold. Catch the Pacers and LA Clippers Saturday at 3. Tickets at Pacers.com.
A girl in Kenya dreams of becoming a doctor. An elder in Guatemala dreams of becoming part of a community. Reach out and change their world, and it will change your own. Unbound.org.
The Colts close out their road schedule when they face the New York Giants. Coverage Sunday morning at 10 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Heard the roar of the crowd. He could picture the scene.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I want to get a job where I can sit around in my underwear and do those like voice 93.5 and 10.7. Like that guy's got the gig. They probably email him a script. He goes into a little closet at his house. He uncorks those, fires them off, and goes back to sleep.
Those types of voiceover artists have gotten clever in the age of new social media, where they've gotten a nice following because they'll bring a camera in with them and post on like TikTok or Twitter of their process and how they do it. Like the guy that does it for CBS, like he's got like he doesn't see the pictures, but he's got a script, he's got a beeper in his head, and he's got to formulate it based on what they've wrote up for him.
Process.
Yeah.
He's not Van Gogh. He's just a guy with a good voice. If I did that, I'd do it in the morning because when I wake up, my voice is more like, hey, good morning. And that's why I can never fake when people call you. Hey, did I wake you up? You're like, no, I'm good. What do you need? I'm fine.
Yeah, same.
All right, let's name the show and then let's get to our bit before we have to say goodbye.
Let's get some Fan Midday Show bets, shall we?
The Jay Cook Plays of the Day.
This is me, all right? I'm not a athlete. This is my way. This is how I win.
Today's plays of the day in Thursday Night Football going to take Ezekiel Elliott as an anytime touchdown scorer. Also going to take Dak Prescott over 1.5 touchdown passes. And then in the Alamo Bowl, going to take Washington's own and the former Hoosier Michael Penix Jr. to go over 309 yards passing on the evening as they battle Texas in the Alamo Bowl. Rough day yesterday. 0-2 on the program, 2-4 for the week. Plays on Twitter at Jay Cook. Chris, I'll start with you before we go to Eddie. Any bets on your end tonight?
It sounds like yesterday you were the one who got cooked.
I did get cooked yesterday.
These bowl games.
I'm stealing that, by the way.
Florida State, they're playing in Orlando against Oklahoma. You figure home crowd advantage there. You look at Texas playing in Texas. Interesting. Some opt-outs, though, for the Longhorns. So in both of these games, I'm going to give you 2 for the price of 1. If you lose both, you'll get none. Oklahoma State, Florida State, I'll go under the 65.5. I'll also go under in the Texas-Washington 66.5. Too many points. I know we've seen a lot of these games go flying over. I like the under. Bet them separately. You win one, you break even, you win both. You might wake up independently wealthy.
Eddie, you got about a little less than a minute.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going to roll out with 2 here. I'll take the Pacers money line that Chris gave out a little bit earlier, and I'll take Donovan Mitchell over 27.5 points.
Like all those, we'll enjoy seeing how those get tracked. Chris, always enjoy being in studio, my friend. It's good to work together.
Thanks for having me. I don't usually bet those little weird props, but the other night it was Chase McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals. Yeah. Did you know about that?
I did not know about that.
And they had one. Then they're in field goal range, and Saturday says, no, let's go for it. They don't make it, don't kick, and people lose. Hey, it's been great being here. Last time you'll hear from me on these airwaves until next year, but I will be with you Sunday morning, 11:30, the Blue Zone on CBS 4. It's been a blast. For Eddie Garrison, for Jimmy Cook, let's get cooking. I'm Chris Hagan, and you've been listening to
The Fan Midday Show.
The Colts spend New Year's Day in New York. Well, technically, it's in New Jersey. It's the Colts and Giants Sunday from MetLife. Pre-game at 10, kickoff at 1 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
97.1 Hank FM is Indy's #1 for new country.